From 1963 to 1966, the Beatles toured almost non-stop, making more than 1,400 concert appearances around the world. Beatlemania was real, and this phenomenon which created the demand for these endless concerts was the very same force that brought them to an abrupt end. The screaming. Relentless and only growing louder. How could four lads from Liverpool and their electric instruments compete with the primal noise of arenas packed full of crazed fans? They couldn't. Despite amplifier manufacturer Vox specially designing powerful amps just for the Beatles arena tours, the Beatlemania proved to be even louder. The concerts became monotonous, thankless endeavors, and the Fab Four grew tired of them. August 29th, 1966, at Candlestick Park, the Beatles played their last commercial concert and became strictly a studio band. After so many concert appearances, one might expect that each member of the band would be rich enough to comfortably retire already. This could not be further from the truth. A report from the London accountancy firm Bryce Hammer Isherwood and Company advised them that despite the group's immense success, quote, two of you are close to being bankrupt and the other two could be soon, end quote. It was true that the Beatles were massively popular and amassing incredible wealth, but UK law at the time imposed a 95% super tax on the highest wealth bracket, which each member of the band was easily within. With bankruptcy imminent, the band went back into the studio. Freedom from future live shows allowed them to put together a far more experimental album than they had previously produced, as they would never have to recreate these songs for a live audience. So the band's seventh studio album, Revolver, was released in 1966, featuring a liberal use of automatic double tracking, Speed, reverse tapes, closed audio miking, and instruments outside of their standard live setup. Revolver opens with a track written by guitarist George Harrison, who at the time was not considered to be much of a writer, particularly when compared to McCartney and Lennon. Harrison's song marked the first political piece written and performed by the Beatles, and is considered by some to be a precursor to punk rock. The song also draws musical inspiration from the theme song for the 1960s Batman TV show. The song's singular message calling out the UK government for their hefty taxes and their funding of military weapon development resonated with audiences within and outside of the UK, and the opening track to this iconic album remains a staple in Beatles canon. Mojo ranked at number 48 on their list of 101 greatest Beatles songs, Rolling Stone ranked at number 55 on their list, and Time Out London ranked at number 7 on theirs. That's right, we're talking Taxman by the Beatles on Cover Me.
'Cause I'm the Taxman. Yeah, I'm the Taxman. Should 5% appear too small?
Welcome to Cover Me, the only podcast that talks about famous songs and their many cover versions and compares them against one another to find out which one is working for me. I'm your host, as always, Jake Cressy, joined by my taxing co-host,
Alex Mildenberger.
Alex Mildenberger. How are you?
I'm a handful, is what I am.
I'll say.
But other than that, pretty good. Pretty good. Roomies just got a new puppy, so that's pretty much been my week. It's playing with a little puppy. Hey,
That's
trying to make it not bite fingers and toes and things like that.
Right. What do you do with that for dogs? Do you just say no or like?
We're a little vague on it. At the moment, we're just kind of trying to distract him with other things.
Okay.
But we may have to do a little more research into that.
Yeah, maybe.
Heard there's some like more intensive techniques that has to do with like rewarding dogs for not biting you, but you have to kind of do it in a specific way. So it's like
Right,
the
so
moment
that
they
they
stop
understand.
biting you, you have to be like, yes,
Yeah.
good dog, but not exactly like that, but kind of like that.
Yeah, I've heard I think with cats, you can like, if you like visibly show pain to them if they claw you or claw things, and then if you show like relief when they are not clawing, they're like, oh, okay, not clawing stuff is good. But I might have just made that up in my dumb brain. But
Sometimes it's hard to know, where you hear stuff. But like honestly, he's also like 9 weeks old, so he's gonna nip on things. Like
he's gonna nip on this. What
yeah.
they do.
He's very young.
That's puppies for you.
That's puppies.
Alex, that's great. Glad that there's a puppy in your life. Super duper. Alex, have you heard about this band, the Beatles?
Have we done this joke before? I think we've done this bit before.
Probably. The Beatles. We're talking about them again. I think the last time we talked about them was Better for September, 1 or 2 years ago. At least as an original. That might have popped up on another cover, but I think it was Getting Better. Probably
Yeah, I
last
think
time
Getting Better. We talked about
these
Getting Better.
fellas.
We talked about their cover of. I think we did. You Really Got a Hold on Me, long
That's
time
right.
ago.
Mhm.
I can't think of another time we have. Oh, we did. Well, we did Paul McCartney for Bond songs, but
Right. Yeah,
that
yeah.
was
Post Beatles.
post Beatles.
PB.
So yeah, we haven't talked about the Beatles specifically in a while.
Hang on, Alex. I have it. Okay, so PB, post Beatles. Wait, no, shit.
Peanut butter.
I know, maybe it still works. 'Cause when was the song Jet released?
I have no idea. The 70s.
Because then you could say that the Bond song is PB and J. Those Beatles and Jet.
Ah, I have no idea if the timeline works out for that, but I'm gonna accept it.
We'll accept it. All right, so there's your good joke for the day. That's our comedy tag.
All
We'll
right,
bring it back
there
to
we
the
go.
podcast.
Bring the
It's
comedy back.
We're here. It's fucking entrepreneur summer, people.
It is.
Let's talk about it. What is it? It's business in the front and party in the back. We're talking about songs related to business, but then it's entrepreneur summer too. Some of you may recall, and the subtitle is pro sex summer, as in like professional sex, but also like pro sex, like sex positive.
Right.
So-
Yeah. It's a pun.
It's a pun, baby. And so come August, it's going to be nonstop sex talk on this podcast. And we're just going to fucking get into it. So buckle in, lube up. It's Entrepreneur Summer 2, baby. Also, at the top of the show, I've been changing our little intro. Typically, I say that's right. This week, I said, welcome. Just a classic, just an easy, just a
Simple.
a
Yeah.
nice one. Simple, clean.
Yeah.
Welcome to Cover Me.
It's very
You like that shit?
minimalist.
Very minimalist. If you want to hear me say something different, hashtag that's not right, and write whatever. It's on Twitter, obviously. But if you want me to go back to the regular that's right, just hashtag that's right, and I will listen to your demands because that's how I run my life. You can rate us, review us. We're on Spotify, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, your favorite podcasting app. Tell your friends about us. We don't have a marketing budget. Email us, covermepod@gmail.com with comments, questions, concerns, recommendations for future episodes, particularly if there's songs of a sexual nature. Anything but My Humps by the Black Eyed Peas. Please. And that's it. That's it for the housekeeping. How do you like that? Alex, the Beatles, Taxman, Revolver. Is this the best Beatles album of all time? Discuss.
Ooh,
With
it
me.
might be. It's definitely the first
Beatles album.
Beatles album I was aware of as an album.
Okay, yeah.
Because I was into the Beatles, and I listened to them. Like my parents had one by the Beatles, and I don't know the exact timeline. I think I was aware of other Beatles songs, but the radio had a show on Sundays called Brunch with the Beatles or Beatles Brunch, something like that, that I would listen to after church.
Ah, yeah.
And this is the first one I ever remember hearing was about Revolver, and talking about the Revolver album as an album, and then I got my dad to buy it. I was like, we gotta buy this. So yeah, it was one of the first Beatles albums I ever owned as well. And I know we've talked about this, like the first CD. You asked me what the first CD I ever owned was, and I wasn't able to tell you. And I don't know if it's, and this wasn't like my CD per se, but it was
Right.
it was definitely early on. Although I definitely owned like Backstreet Boys before that, but this is one of the ones where I was like, I gotta get this, one of the early ones.
Right.
And then
This
I
was
got
a
like
significant one.
asked my parents because I didn't have money or whatever.
Right. Yeah, this was one that was one I'd heard whispered about. It's like, oh, the Beatles, Revolver, such an incredible album, and
Such a
there's that song
strange album cover. It's all
about
white
how
and
much
black.
Paul McCartney likes weed, and you're like, oh, fuck yeah. So I was, once I started smoking pot, I was like, I gotta listen to this fucking
Goes the
album
Revolver.
by the Beatles, Revolver. And, listen, I was, oh, it's crazy. They must have been so high, bro. I was in that phase of my mental development
Sure.
where any mildly creative idea could only come to be through heavy use of drugs.
Of course.
But yeah, I don't know if this one really parsed, permeated my membrane the way other albums have. I like some good songs on here. I like Andrew Bird Can Sing. I like Got to Get You Into My Life. I like, yeah, it's one of those ones where I'm like, I don't give a shit about this album. I listen to it.
And
I'm
then
like,
you
oh,
go
yeah,
through it, yeah.
all these songs fucking slap. It's a very well put together
Yeah,
album.
I guess, I mean, I had the advantage of, like, the first time I heard about this album was literally going through it track by track and, like, talking about each song, so I'm, like, familiar with each part.
Yeah, that process, when you, like, hear somebody, like, go through something, like, you hear critical, like, dissection of something before you go into it, can make, even, like, a shitty piece of media, I think, a lot better, because you're like, oh, I
Something to
fucking
think
know so
about,
much
yeah.
about this.
Yeah. But hopefully this isn't shitty. I certainly like it. And
Not
Taxman, first song on
remotely.
there. I very amused. I remember being very amused by, like, the count in, for example. They're just like
Oh,
1,
yeah.
2, 3.
Oh, and it's very funny, because I didn't notice until this week that there's also the actual count-in under that.
I didn't actually notice that are there 2 voices?
There's 2 voices, so
I thought it was just
and
kind of like a pun of
well,
sorts.
the and it is, because the counting that you hear prominently is not him counting in the band. It's the Taxman counting money.
Right. Okay, I just heard the other count in, yeah.
Yeah, so then, like, and it does cover it up most. I didn't hear it until this week, but you can hear the band count in just under him, about midway through him going 1, 2, 3, 4, bam, bam, bam. So yeah, that's a little fun fact. What else did I have to say about this one? There was a good quote by some dude who said, like, with these 4 songs alone, he says, like, you could recreate pop. If we lost all of pop music overnight, like, it was all deleted from history, as long as we had these 4 songs from Revolver, we could put it back together.
Yeah.
That's how like critical these were for
Well,
pop music.
I don't know about that. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of influence there because it's the Beatles, but certainly there's a lot of cool,
Yeah,
interesting
it's a
stuff on
quote
here.
that gets crazier the further away you get from whatever time the dude made that quote, right?
Right. But yeah, I mean, just looking at stuff like Eleanor Rigby's on here, I remember being so amazed because in this show they're describing I'm Only Sleeping and talking about how, like, there's reverse guitar sounds on it. I was like, oh, you put it backwards? That's amazing. Yeah. Even, like,
Doc,
Here,
flipping
There,
it
and
and reversing
Everywhere,
it?
like, that's in an
Yeah.
episode of Friends, so it's a big deal.
That's a big deal.
And yeah, lots of good stuff.
Yeah. But we're talking about Taxman because entrepreneurs, baby, it's about business, and
about
it's
business.
particularly about the Beatles' business. We've talked previously about 1, how rad the weekend is. 2, how rad being a self-employed musician is, and 3, like, how rough the 9 to 5 is. And then this is almost counterpart to some of this, saying being a musician, at least a successful one in 1960s UK, not all that you'd think.
True. I
Not
mean,
so
it's
fucking
even
easy.
like it does address this, like, super tax, this very high tax rate, on the very wealthy. But I mean, it's pretty generally applicable. It's just about not liking paying taxes, really.
Truthfully, yeah.
There's a line that is, well, we'll talk about the lyrics, but
I mean, yeah, we'll talk about
it's
'em.
specific to their situation, but can be interpreted generally.
Yeah, well, yeah, because there's like 2 lines that are directly about the super tax, and then the rest is pretty generally just like, I'm gonna tax things, I'm gonna tax this, I'm gonna tax that. Fuck you, I'm gonna tax that.
Everything, and a lot of people don't like taxes,
Oh yeah, especially boomers.
especially. I will
and so,
say,
yeah.
taxes are a lot easier to stomach if you feel like they're going to something important, towards something.
Yeah,
important.
sort of the other key part of this puzzle, because I know that, and this is just me reckoning with my own families. My father likes the one of the versions we'll talk about today, the Black Oak, Arkansas version. And also my father, hardcore conservative. So, like you said, people read this kind of at face value and be like, yeah, taxes are bad. Taxation's theft, hard right. But there is the critical undercurrent of one of the reasons, beyond being bankrupt, that George Harrison wrote this is that there was also the belief or the understanding that all of this money that was being taken from them was then being pumped into the military-industrial complex, which is pretty strongly against what, at the very least, George Harrison stood for.
Yeah, and I mean, certainly John Lennon wrote songs as well in that vein. So, anti-war type stuff. Love everyone.
Yeah.
So pretty
love
hippie,
everyone.
but like, not a bad message.
Yeah. But that's I think for people who listen to this song are like, yeah, libertarian Beatles. Like, it's not quite that.
Yeah.
With that, the lyrics.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. And then in brackets it says 1, 2, 3, 4. That being the actual count-in. Now we already talked about that. But
Yeah, that's kind of
hey,
like,
there it is.
yeah, he's counting money, he's counting in the song. He's kind of done in like this low, growly voice, presumably trying to imitate this like miserly impression of what a taxman is.
Yeah, it's a bit cartoonish, it's a bit evil. And also, what a wild way to introduce the brand new Beatles album after being like, we're done with touring, see ya. Here's our new album. Pretty wild to go from like, love, love me do, to 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah, I'm trying to
1.
remember what their previous album was.
It'd be like Rubber Soul.
Rubber Soul. Yeah, okay.
Which, while they were getting like a little more experimental there, like it's not, by no means is it like super. You get Drive My Car on that as your
Yeah,
opener.
I've always thought of Rubber Soul as a little more straightforward, although it supposedly inspired Pet Sounds. So.
It's like a baby step for them. You start to get a little weirdness there. You get songs like Norwegian Wood and Nowhere Man, which I think, like, while again not wild, are starting to dip their toes into a bit of experimentation.
Yeah, I mean Norwegian Wood has that sitar, which I a couple weeks
Invented
ago
world
said
music.
I was gonna double check, and it is Norwegian Wood, not Nowhere Man.
Yeah, buddy.
Yeah, but yes, this is an interesting way to start a new album.
Yeah, to say hello, we're the new Beatles. This is our new phase. I mean, we're the same Beatles, but
2, 3. I guess
2,
counting in
3.
is not a bad way to start an album.
Fair enough.
But
Now let me tell you how it will be. There's 1 for you, 19 for me, because I'm the Taxman. Yeah, I'm the Taxman.
yeah.
So there you go. This is the super tax.
Yeah, 1 for you, 19 for me. If you do the math, they take 95%. The taxman, like, it's right there. It's a very like explicit line, and it rhymes.
Yeah.
And it's all the taxpayer does not have a say. It's just the taxman who gets to say.
Yeah, let me
Hey.
tell you how it will be.
Yeah. Also, the idea of a taxman is kind of archaic. I don't think there was anything that was a taxman at the time. Like the only time I've actually heard of someone who is a tax collector is like the Bible.
Right, and this is not like, it would just be the tax board. I mean, you get
Or like I mean there are people who work for the whatever their internal revenue
whatever
service is
fucking
called.
bureau is there.
But like, so you'd call them the taxman, I guess. But it's not like there's a guy going around collecting taxes. And there's the sort of historical notion, again, the sort of biblical notion of the tax collector, who are generally looked on as dishonest because there is a tax, but then the tax collector kind of, as I understood it, would they'd charge a bit on top, and then they would take the rest. So they would give a certain amount of it, or perhaps lie about the amount that people gave. So
Of course,
there's a lot of in the idea of like the taxman, the tax collector, there's this sort of idea of like skimming off the top or self-enrichment, dishonesty.
Right. And yeah, so we're personifying a whole like branch of government, basing it in a little bit of history, and also bringing in the history of 1960s television superhero Batman.
Yes. Which is that during the, where does that first come in?
It comes in when they sing. I think it is maybe at the end of the verse 1. You get them going, Taxman.
Yeah, which I never drew that connection between that and like the Batman theme.
Yeah,
But
not until this week for me.
Batman.
Yeah, I can hear it now.
Na 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 na.
Yeah, and so
Batman.
him being the Taxman is like a superhero in the eyes of the government, but a villain in the eyes of the people getting taxed.
Yeah.
So I think there's also that idea present where George Harrison is like, oh yeah, he's the Taxman, like the Batman is the Batman.
Just like the Batman is the Batman.
You know, he's like, hey, it's me on this thing. And you're like, all right.
Yeah, yeah, but I guess this was 1966, so that would have been like exactly the time when that would have been popular.
Yeah, exactly. You would like this one is so many Beatles songs are like almost timeless in a way. You'd be like, oh, it's about love and love is forever. And this one's like it's about taxes in 1966.
And also,
Also,
kind
Batman
of
was on air.
Yeah, but you don't really need that stuff, even though it is so
Mhm.
specific. And then the second verse brings in some more specific things. I mean, should 5% appear too small? Yeah, there's that 1 in 20 again. It's 5%. Be thankful I don't take it all. It's a threat, basically.
Yeah. A direct
Like,
continuation of verse
be thankful
1,
for
really.
what you have. You know, they're
Mhm.
being very sort of they're
I'm being
dismissing the
generous.
concerns of the
Yeah.
taxpayer.
Yeah, and implying that they could take everything. They're the government.
Yeah.
And yeah, so that's it. He's still a dick. He could take more, in theory. And with that, we come to the bridge. If you drive a car, I'll tax the street. If you try to sit, I'll
Sit.
tax your seat. If you get too cold,
Cold
I'll tax the heat. If you take a walk,
walk.
I'll tax your feet. Taxman.
Taxman. Yeah, it's I mean just a bunch of arbitrary things to tax. It's sort of this hyperbolic statement of like they just tax everything because they can.
Mm-hmm.
Which is like I don't know. I mean they do tax the heat, don't they?
Probably.
Like don't you pay tax on utilities like a little bit? Maybe not.
I would assume so. Man, I don't know.
I'm
just
gonna be
pay
honest
the
with you. I don't
bills.
pay the utility bill directly. That's my roommate's responsibility.
Yeah, that's the same here, so I just give him money.
Yeah.
Well, if you say
But
that's
anyway,
what it is. That's what it is.
it is what it is. But anyway, yeah. So it's that. Tax the street. What does that even mean? What does it mean to tax your seat? Also, they repeat the lines here. So they say if you drive a car, car. If you try to sit, sit. And I like until this week was always so confused by that. Like I never knew what they were saying.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds like I don't know. He described like he says if you drive some kind of car.
Right.
And I was like, I don't know what he says. Probably some British term that means something that I don't know about. And I just accepted it.
Yeah, well,
And
they're
I say,
just repeating
you
a
know,
word.
you drive a car. I'm like, oh yeah, totally.
The British saying,
You
"Oh,
try
drive
to
your
do
car."
a sit. All right, sounds good to me.
code in here.
Coat. Yeah, that kind of stuff. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's very straightforward, but it was mysterious to me for a long time.
Yeah.
But not important
well-
enough to look up.
Fair enough. So one thing worth noting is that eventually what the taxman taxes starts out as like a city-owned thing, the street. It comes down to a seat and the heat, which are both like still not like connected to. He eventually taxes your feet. That's your own body,
Yeah,
dog.
he's cutting bits of you off.
Yeah, he's going, you know what? It doesn't even matter if it's you. I'm going to fucking tax it. Because I'm the tax man. Yeah.
No boundaries. And then tax man.
That's right. And then a guitar solo.
And
Paul
then there's a
McCartney.
guitar solo. Yeah. Yeah, apparently Paul McCartney played this guitar solo. I saw a quote where basically George Harrison just said like I wasn't bothered by it, so I don't know. I guess he was the guitar player, but they were all just kind of
Yeah,
recording, so it
there
didn't
was
matter
like
that much.
there was some account from like an audio engineer. He's like George Harrison couldn't fucking do it. He was bad at the guitar. He couldn't make the solo work. So Paul McCartney stepped in and showed him what's what. And then George Harrison's like, yeah, it wasn't really like that. I asked Paul if he wanted to do it, and he was like, yeah, I'll fucking do it. And then he did it, and I was like, cool.
Yeah, I've definitely heard a lot of those. Well, every once in a while something pops up and it'll be an article be like, actually the Beatles were terrible. Like I don't know. They seem to make some decent music to me.
Yeah. Like, they
I'm
struggled
like,
in the studio a bit.
yeah,
It's
like-
we got to do that.
okay, yeah, maybe they weren't like the most talented. Like, is that this huge gotcha? Like, if they weren't
Yeah.
like the most technically capable artists, like, I don't know, is that big a deal?
Yeah, sometimes people are just trying to get words on digital paper to make a little money, Alex.
True. I guess you gotta, in some ways, respect it because that they've been pushed into that situation
Mm-hmm.
by market forces or something like that.
That's
Business.
By business. Typically by student loans, if my life is anything to go by. Another interesting thing while we're talking about sort of contributions on this song in particular, George Harrison is kind of portrayed as being a guy who was more about the music than about who got credits. He was like, we're gonna make a good song first and foremost. So that's it, painted in that story of him being like Paul McCartney did the best solo, so he fucking gets to be the solo on this. I'm
Mhm.
not fighting for that credit. I want what's good for the song. And that's also why he got some lyrical assistance from John Lennon. And John Lennon has a quote on that in 1980. He says, I threw in a few one liners to help the song along because that's what he asked for. He came to me because he couldn't go to Paul because Paul wouldn't have helped him at that period. Lennon said he was reluctant to agree to Harrison's request since it was, quote, enough to do my own and Paul's songs, but he did so because, quote, I loved him and didn't want to hurt his feelings. It's Lennon bitching a little bit about
A little
doing
bit.
too much work.
Yeah. Also, possibly subtly, kind of, ribbing. Maybe, I don't know. Taking a bit of a swing at Paul McCartney because he's like, it's enough to do my songs and also his songs.
Right. Well, that's a classic Lennon move, isn't it? He's like, well, I really did
Well, I
all
was
the work
doing
for the
everything,
band.
so you know.
I wore the little circular glasses, and that's why I'm the best. The best Beatle. Anyway, time
Because
for
I couldn't
verse
see
3.
through as much of my field of vision. It was very restricted. Anyway,
Don't ask me what I want it for. Haha, Mr. Wilson.
Mr. Wilson.
If you don't want to pay some more. Haha, Mr. Heath. Because I'm the
Yeah.
tax man. Yeah, I'm the tax
Yeah.
man.
Again, kind of similar to before, where he said like, "Be thankful I don't take it all," and now saying like, I could take more, if you keep inquiring. So, similar
Yeah.
implication.
And yeah, don't ask me what I want it for. This
yeah.
is the line about where's all this tax money going? Is it the military industrial complex?
Right, or like whatever, self enrichment. I mean, that's something we hear about a lot these days.
Right.
Is like funneling money into, especially in Alberta. There's a lot of accusations about
Money funneling.
putting money into places that will enrich politicians. It's not a new concept.
No, certainly not.
Yeah, and not enrich the population. A lot of accusations. And then specifically bringing up a few politicians who were British politicians at the time. The Mr. Wilson, Harold Wilson, the Prime Minister of the UK,
Mm-hmm.
the Labour Party,
Yes, I believe so.
and then Edward Heath, the Conservative opposition leader. So yeah,
That's right. And the Labour Party was, of course, responsible for the high taxes that this song is about. So naturally, you include a jab at him, and presumably at Edward Heath. I guess like the Conservative Party must have not been better.
yeah. I don't know. I mean, I don't know exactly how their system of government works, but they probably to some degree had to work together.
Mm-hmm.
I know, like, if it's a majority government, because I think their parliament is set up similar to Canada's, so a majority government can pretty much just do whatever they want.
Right.
But I don't really know if they needed cooperation in this case or what.
Yeah.
But it's also like, I mean, one of the comments says suggests that it was like a way of remaining neutral, so he wasn't like specifically calling out one party or politician.
Right.
It's just like two people that represent large political parties. So it's not like, oh, look, I don't like any of them, sort of thing.
Right. Yeah, I don't like politicians in general.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Without
yeah, that
being
could
like,
be
I
it.
don't like this particular policy or group of policies or something. So it's like,
Although
it gets a little political, but it's not like super specific or anything.
Right.
in a way
I mean,
that,
but
like-
it is super specific in that he doesn't like this super tax.
True.
But
Yeah, well,
yeah,
it is
when
super
he's
specific in what he's talking about, but he doesn't like address a specific ideology or anything.
Yeah, but I guess like if you just said, "Haha, Mr. Wilson," people would be like, "The Beatles come out in support of the Mr. Heath." It's like,
Yeah.
maybe that's not the case. So yeah, once you start naming specifics, it's good to name both to give you a little more ambiguity.
Yeah, because I mean, really, he just didn't like the tax, and those are people
Hmm.
associated with setting that tax. So
Also, the '60s, rock and roll musicians didn't really like politicians in general, so pretty safe call to say he probably didn't like Edward Heath either.
probably, yeah, that's definitely a feeling I've had before. It's like, well, we could vote someone else in, but would it even matter?
Exactly.
So, feeling of
So
powerlessness in the face of large, political, large amounts of power
that's right.
that are not yours.
So, and that brings us to verse 4. Now, my advice for those who die, Taxman, declare the pennies on your eyes, Taxman. 'Cause
Taxman.
I'm the Taxman.
I'm the
Yeah, I'm the
taxman.
Taxman. A reference to the underworld, to the river Styx,
Yes, the idea of
Greek tradition.
putting coins on a corpse's eyes when they're buried, so they'd be able to pay the ferryman or whatever to get across.
Yeah,
I guess in this case, the river Styx. I don't know if
that's
there
right.
were probably other beliefs that are similar, where you need to bring some stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, that idea. But you got to declare them. It's like absurd, but you got to declare them
Yeah,
because if you don't declare all your income, then you're gonna get audited or whatever.
exactly. It's very funny. But hey, that's taxable income. You got those pennies.
Yeah.
You're making money.
Also, yeah, they're pennies. Like they're worthless, essentially.
They're worthless. You're
And
dead.
You're dead, but they don't care because they want a piece of the pie.
That's right. And as we learned in the outro, you're working for no one but me, Taxman.
Taxman. Yeah, because that's where the money's going. And I mean, honestly, in the Beatles situation, it sounds like if they're, I mean, it seems unbelievable almost that like the idea of like you could make a significant income, but because of that you were pushed to
To
um
poverty.
poverty, yeah, which the or bankruptcy seems very strange to the point where I would be like, were they using what is this, like what, like tax brackets properly? What's that called?
Yeah, because typically my understanding of tax brackets is like your money up to X amount is taxed at this level, then everything past that level is taxed at another amount, and then so and so on beyond that. As you make more money, a certain chunk of your money, not all of it, is subject to a higher tax rate.
Yeah. So I'm just curious about the story. Like they were like, how do you get to that point? I guess in their situation, they were probably just getting checks from whoever and then spending a lot of money, and then they had to pay their taxes and they didn't have the money for it, kind of thing. That's my
Hmm.
guess. I don't know. I don't know. I'm
So
not trying
according
to.
to here's some genius stuff here. First a quote from Harrison, who stated, "In those days, we paid 19 shillings and 6 pence out of every pound. There were 20 shillings in the pound, so they paid most of that." That's from Harrison. So moving on to a Bloomberg article quote, it says the top rate for British taxpayers in the mid 1960s reached 83%. The wealthiest among them paid a 15% super tax on top of that, pushing taxes as high as 98%. And according to their accountant, Harold Pinsker, the first £100,000 earned was taxed at 87.5%, and the second at 98. So it does seem like there was some tax bracketing, but it was already at such high levels. like they, so
Okay.
maybe this 5% is a bit of an exaggeration. I wouldn't know how to average it out. I mean, I guess it depends on how much they made after that 100,000
Yeah.
pound mark. But yeah, nonetheless, even at that, that's not a ton to live off of. At least not by these days. I don't know what living was like in fucking 1960s UK.
Yeah, and then there's some other quotes about like, oh, Brian Epstein was like paying us £25 a week each or whatever, and there
Hmm.
was some deal. So anyway, I don't know what the specifics were, but it sounds like obviously they were upset.
Yeah,
To speak,
and it
very
was
quick.
not unusual for British bands to they become what were called tax exiles.
Yeah,
Where
you
they
definitely hear stories of that.
Mhm.
Jethro Tull even has like an album that they recorded or tried to record, and I think it's like demo tapes now. Like
Hmm.
they basically just ran to France for a while and recorded in some like chateau. Anyway, yeah, lots of that.
Lots of that. So yeah, this is what it was like to be a successful British band in the '60s.
They call it Chateau Disaster, but it's like D apostrophe isaster. It's just a little pun on French there.
Disaster. It's great.
Yeah.
Fantastic. If we're easy as fishing, you too could pay 95% taxes on your income. If you can make sounds loud or mellow.
Yeah, of course.
That is key. So that's the lyrics of the song. Pretty straightforward. Pretty, but it's rich in that it really, captures their their anger at this very specific period of time.
Yeah, and it's a very specific thing with not actually that many lines. Like each verse is like a single rhyming couplet with a
Mhm.
refrain stuck on the end.
Yeah, like 60% of the words in this are probably Taxman.
Yeah. Song like Batman.
Batman, Mr. Wilson.
And yeah, but what's the rest of it like? What's the music like? That's what I want to know.
It's pretty interesting stuff. So we open with that count in
Well,
and some coughing and a sort of like, I guess it must be a tape noise or something. It's like,
yeah, something like that. It must be, right? If it's 1966, just kind of like
Yeah.
sounds like a reel of some sort.
Yeah.
And like there's like some tuning maybe noise. It's like studio noise.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a real like that, and that too I think gives it an opening track feel, this sort of setting up noise.
Right. This is the start, and then you kind of put up the like back walls kind of thing while you're playing.
Mhm.
I meant the three walls on the stage. If that
Right.
makes sense.
Yeah.
I think it does.
I think so. Yeah.
And then they kind of jump right in.
Yeah.
They got
you
this
then
riff going on.
as you hear the guy counting, you hear in the left audio. It was very weird listening to this.
Oh, that's
I'm
right.
listening to the remastered 2009 version, and everything is like mono. It's not nothing. You don't ever hear anything in both sides. I found so like a lot of the instruments are pushed
Yeah.
into the left. I had to like take them out because it was sort of jarring and it had a weird like demo feel to it because everything seemed to be separate.
Yeah, there is a lot of that. And the Beatles did a lot of that kind of stuff for their stereo recordings. Like
Mm-hmm.
I mean, in this one, like they come in with the opening guitar riff and then the bass, which actually the bass does most of the riff at this point.
Boom, ba-dum-dum. Yeah,
And
it's just
like
guitar
all
stings.
left.
Yeah. And like this is like some people said a precursor to punk rock, and it's a pretty simple setup.
It's like simple
Like-
anger song.
Yeah. So having it like mixed so strangely is like
bam,
throws me off.
Bum, bum, bum. Guitar's just playing those two chords. Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely I mean, the way the Beatles mix things kind of didn't really catch on. Certainly we don't do it anymore. Just like that
Mhm.
heavy panning like all the time. Although you can hear a little bit of like the rest of it in the right side, but it's a very small amount.
Yeah.
And then everything kind of follows the riff at the start. So like even the drums.
Well, yeah, they don't come in until after the line.
Oh right.
Hitting the cymbal.
And then they kind of do like the bum ba 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 bum,
Yeah.
which is really what the bass is kind of doing, and then the guitar is reinforcing that by playing these like kind of stings. And what else? I mean, Ringo always has interesting drums. I've
All
defended
right, I lied. The
Ringo
drums
in
are
the
there right
past.
off the bat. Yeah, you're a
I
Ringo
like Ringo.
apologist. Mm-hmm.
I think he has some interesting drum patterns.
But he's not even the best
Drum
drummer in the
patterns.
Beatles.
I heard him call them one time. Classic. I don't even know if that was really said or not, but it's very funny.
Mhm.
And then they kind of keep doing that throughout for the verse. They play that riff, and then the lines are pretty spaced out. They kind of do a riff in between the lines. They do like, let me tell you how it will be. Bum, ba, da, ba,
Bow,
da, banks
bow.
one for you, 19 for me.
You not for me.
And then into that
Bow.
refrain, cause I'm the Taxman.
Yeah,
Drums
you get a
bring in the
little like
cowbell.
snare roll.
Oh yeah, and then a cowbell.
And then a cowbell.
But the cowbell is
You're
very
right.
much in your right, on the right side. As is the the cowbell comes in. Does it come in this refrain? No, it's the later refrain. Sorry,
Oh, okay, yeah,
I'm
yeah,
not sure
yeah,
if
yeah,
it's
yeah.
in yet. That's after the second verse because we do go into the second verse. But no, yeah, you're right about it. Like goes on the cymbals. Lots of cymbals for that first refrain.
And of course, worth noting here, George Harrison is on lead vocals, which is not necessarily a common occurrence. I think you got John and Paul on backing vocals because there's a lot of harmony going on here,
There
but
is,
it's George
yeah.
Harrison up front.
Yeah, which he does a little more later on in the Beatles, but this was relatively early. Like this was kind of before they really moved into their. This is one of their first like just in the studio albums, right?
Yeah.
So it's before they really got into the wacky stuff. Really more a Lennon McCartney thing before.
Yeah.
Second verse, tambourine.
Yeah.
Refrain, second refrain, cowbell. And then like a squeak or like a dog bark or something. It's probably a squeak, but I've been thinking about dogs this week, so.
Right.
Just kind of a weird little sound at the bottom. It's pretty consistent, this song. There's like that riff that kind of continues throughout. Although
And then it goes a little more buck on the bridge.
Especially the bass.
It's the bass, yeah, and it's so smooth, that movement to it though. Like you said, the song's consistent. It's like butter. There is changes, but they come on so naturally. It's hard to be like, oh, this is a big shift. But yeah, that bass goes.
Like it kind of maintains the same sound, and the drums don't change all that much. So it like feels consistent. But yeah, there's like I never noticed the bass in this part doing like, but like it's doing a lot of
just ripping
on this bridge. Yeah, that I just absolutely did not hear before.
Yeah, very cool, but you're kind of, I think, distracted by the vocal shift because you're getting this like call and response thing. If you drive down Texas Street, if you get how do that thing, Taxman.
Yeah, where you really get like the backup vocals coming in from Lennon and McCartney.
Yeah.
And interesting part. Interesting to listen for the bass line, because it's pretty wild.
Yeah, it is wild. And then that bridge leads into a solo by also Paul McCartney.
Right, playing the guitar.
While he continues to play the bass. No, I'm kidding.
Amazing. How many arms does this guy have? 2. He has
too many. Too many arms, I tell you.
Too many arms.
Too many. Yeah, so he plays this solo. A lot of people say, oh, it's like Eastern influenced as a nod to George Harrison, who was getting into sort of Eastern philosophy and things like that at the time. It didn't really hit me as that.
Yeah, I don't know what would
signify
mean,
it as that. Yeah.
It's also, I've just known it for such a long time. Like I've known this solo since before I've known a lot of other rock and roll solos, so it doesn't seem like not rock and roll to me.
Right, yeah, it doesn't seem out of place.
And I don't have like any background in like Indian music, really. So I don't hear it. Yeah. I just hear a Beatle playing a rock and roll guitar.
Here's what I can tell you.
Too. Like high and distorted.
It is. Exactly, right?
That was another one of the things about this album when they were recording was they were like trying to do it somewhere else. Like I think they had some plans to record it in America instead of recording at Abbey Road, but then they had some things fell through and they ended up just doing it in the UK, and it's sort of like credited with being a big part of the like bright British rock sound that came after.
Yeah, that's right. I recall reading that as well. Yeah, it was actually influenced heavily by them recording in this British studio, which is a wild thing to think about. It's not ever something I've thought about in the recording process, is literally like where, like geographically, you're recording
Yeah.
it. You think like, oh, you recorded at a studio and it's either like a high tech one or it's not.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like it's binary. It's the studio or not the studio.
Yeah, right? Like it's the studio or
Not
it's
which
some dude's
studio is it.
garage. Yeah.
But
And not
yeah.
where that studio is. Like it's wild to me that it would have such a profound effect that they could actually point out and say like, well, here's the reason a lot of this sounds that way.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's the people working, it's the equipment they have, you know. It all just it's
Mhm.
there's so many like tiny little factors that play into these things. Who was present, what was going on, you know. If someone happened to turn the TV on, they go into these creative endeavors that it's impossible to nail them all down, I guess.
Mhm. So jumping back to this solo, I have a quote here from musicologist. Hang on a second.
Ah, musicologist.
That's musicologist Alan Pollock, who describes it as fast triplets, exotic modal touches, and a melodic shape which traverses several octaves and ends with a breathtaking upward flourish. So that's it has exotic modal touches, is apparently what makes it Indian, I guess.
Okay. Sounds like notes to me, but it sounds cool. I mean, obviously, this is like one of the early ones for me. I keep talking, we keep covering songs, and I keep saying, like, I don't remember not knowing this song. This one was like significant enough in my early days that I do remember not knowing it.
Right.
I remember first hearing it, honestly, which is unusual, but it's a strong memory I have. So, and I know this solo very well in my mind, like not playing it or anything, but in my mind.
Yeah. And it rocks. It's such a good solo, they use it twice in this song.
Yeah, comes back in at the end.
Yeah, it's the outro. So from that solo, we rip to back to the refrain, because I'm the Taxman.
Yeah,
I'm the Taxman.
and at this point, the guitar starts to play a little bit more with the guitar from the solo. I think starts to play along with the riff.
So it does what the bass has been doing.
Yeah, like so this now the guitar's playing what I would consider like the full riff.
Yeah.
This is kind of the part that I would identify as the riff just in my memory, because listening to the start, the guitar doesn't actually play that much of the riff.
Yeah, it just
At
does like
that
the
point.
first two notes.
Yeah. But now that
So, yeah, we
comes in the refrain, and then we go into another verse.
Yeah.
So this
this
is
is-
where the backup vocals come in more during the verse.
Yeah, it's where you're
Wilson
haha,
and Heath.
Mr. Wilson.
Yeah.
Haha, Mr. Heath.
Ah, Mr. Wilson. And it sort of goes back and forth here, because when the backup vocals are in, the solo guitar is not playing anymore, and then it comes back for the line.
Yeah, they
For the
really give
riff.
those backup vocals some space.
Mm-hmm. The drums also switch between tambourine and cowbell. Play tambourine during the like main lines, and then during the backup lines play cowbell. So maybe that's another part of giving them space.
Maybe.
Don't know.
We move pretty swiftly from there to what is the final verse, the pennies on the eye verse. Getting your Taxmans after every line. Taxman!
Mm-hmm. Yeah, at that point, that's the backup vocals shouting "Taxman."
Yeah. And then in the outro line, you're working for no one by any. Things get a little darker. We get that lead guitar doing this little two-note pattern.
Yeah, and like the bass starts to boom, 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 walk down a little bit. So you really do get that like descending. It's very like kind of insidious, more so in some of the covers, but you definitely get that in the original as well.
In the original, yeah, it's definitely meant to make you think like, oh shit, the Taxman is evil. But then it goes Taxman, and then he just rips a solo out again. By what you mean, they just plugged it back in.
Yep, they do the solo part again, and then that fades out. It's the end.
Faded out.
Yeah.
That's how you make the hit song Taxman by the Beatles.
Yeah, an interesting song. Honestly, like looking at the Wikipedia page, there were a lot of like different influences listed. And I don't know. I have no idea. Like it says like soul music,
Yeah.
I have no idea what they're talking about.
Motown bassist James Jamerson.
It's just the bass line?
Yeah, just for the bass line there.
Okay. Sure, why not?
I mean, Batman, the theme song, is listed as an inspiration.
True.
Rolling Stone described the track as skeleton funk. Harrison's choppy fuzz-tone guitar chords moving against an R&B dance beat, which I guess would be mostly McCartney doing his bass line there, influenced by Motown bassist. And then you got the Eastern-influenced guitar solo. And baby, that's the Beatles. They're influenced by all that shit,
Baby.
and it made this.
That's the beat.
That's the Beatles, baby. Yeah, cool song. Not what I think of typically when somebody's like, "Hey, what's a really cool Beatles song?" But this one's pretty goddamn good.
Yeah, gotta love Revolver.
I have to. It's literally mandatory.
Yeah.
But it's time to show some love to the cover versions, Alex. We got 100 of them to talk about today.
Got 100.
So buckle
Some of
in.
them I think will go quickly, but I say that all the time and then they don't. So let's go.
Yeah, and then it's a 3-hour episode. So we're gonna start off by talking about Junior Parker in 1970.
Cause I'm the Taxman. Yes, I'm the Taxman. That man is rough. Now dig this. Should 5%
Junior Parker. That's a name that I like vaguely recognize, but I don't know the material really.
Yeah, same here. It's like
Like-
probably cited as an influence on a lot of people's lives. But he's an American Memphis blues singer and musician, best known for his honey to velvet smooth vocals. And he died in 1971, so like a year after this cover version was released. And the
Yeah.
Al Green song "Take Me to the River" is dedicated to him, which you might know more by the Talking Heads version.
Drop me in the water. Yeah, I know the Talking Heads version more than anything.
Hell yeah, brother. Oh, fuck, he's dying.
I'm
Alex.
dying. I'm okay. I'm better.
So this version
I got better.
is a natural fit. It's straight up blues. He sings his way through it. We get some drums bringing us in.
Yeah, this version's like very, very like we talked about how there was some smoothness to the last one. This one is just complete like butter.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And like it is slower too. They slow it down. But like and like briefly pick it up, but like it's very smooth all the time. And then like he's kind of got like you said, it's like more talk singing. It feels more casual. His voice is smooth.
Yeah.
And then they kind of like build the groove a little bit.
Yeah. So it's just like boom, bam, ba-doom, boom, bam, ba-doom, and sometimes they go a little quick. They go.
Yes, it really goes between that. Like that's the verse. They do that. Bum bum ba-dum, bum. And then there's an electric piano in there too. It only plays a little bit. It plays like 2 chords, just like a da-da. Very briefly.
Yeah.
As part of that, and like that's kind of the groove, I guess the drums as well. And then once they get into the refrain, yeah, it does more like a da 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 da.
Yeah.
And then
what's interesting, yeah, go ahead.
the EP sticks around, but it just kind of is higher.
Right. Yeah. I was gonna say what's interesting here is his vocal performance, which involves him both singing the song where he says "I'm the Taxman," and then him like commenting on the song as he's singing. He's
Right.
like, "Oh, he's rough."
He just like throws in some of these parentheticals.
Yeah.
He's just like, and this is awful. I'll tax your
Yeah.
feet. Like,
I'll tax your feet. Yeah, he's like, Taxman is something else, isn't he? Just
Yeah.
like talking to the audience. Wow, that's something I feel like you can only get away with in this style of music. But I think he pulls it off.
yeah, definitely some like. I feel like you have to. It's like an acting thing. I think you have to sell it. You know,
Mhm.
like I would have trouble because I would be too sarcastic. Like you have to be really earnest about it.
Yeah. I
Um,
believe what you're saying.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's definitely tricky. Also, I wanted to make a correction because I said before that the faster parts of the refrain, but that's not true. That's between like his spoken word lines in the verse. So he'll say whatever. Let me tell you how it's gonna be or whatever. And then
Mhm.
da 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 da, and then boom, bam, banana. There's one for you. Like slows
Yeah.
down again. So does not speed up for the refrain.
No, in fact, it slows it right back down
Slows
because
down
then
for
he
the
does some
refrain, yeah.
actual singing.
Yeah, but yeah, throws in a lot of those like parentheticals when he's
Yeah.
doing that talking. Another thing that happens on the refrain, the guitar gets some like bluesy licks in. So even
Yeah.
though like we're grooving and really his speaking / singing later on is more of the focus than anything. It's kind of like the story, like he's talking to you and telling you this thing.
Yeah.
There's still like in the background, the guitar gets to play around a little bit, play some licks.
Yeah, give us a little something in between lines, in between
Yeah.
the refrain and the next verse. Yeah, but it's all meant to just like set the mood of this blues styled song.
I mean, it's rough.
And he switches things up in the bridge as well. If you drive a truck, I'll tax the street.
Right. And then he says,
If
if you
you
try
try
to
to-
fix it,
Mm-hmm.
fix it,
Fix it.
I will tax your seat.
I'll tax your seat. And then the
Yeah.
groove switched here a bit too. It's more of a boom, down, 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 boom, boom, down, down. A bit more start and stop on it, but yeah, it's a very clear bridge. And yeah, it's cool. This version's very cool. It's a cool version for cool people
Yes, very cool version for very cool people.
like me.
We go back to, I mean, yeah, and then it kind of keeps doing that stuff. It doesn't do the names and the backups. It just sticks with his like lines. He kind of repeats some things. So like on the, like if you don't want to pay some more line, he says like if you don't want to pay some more. So yeah, it's like
Yeah.
just so slow.
Yeah, he makes
can
it his
just
own.
Fit in so many words in between.
Yeah.
When he says them. And
And yeah.
continues
Yup.
like that. No, you were gonna say something. What's up?
Continues like that. I was gonna say, does it sound like he says, "Beware the pennies on your eye"?
It does. I think he does say that.
Yeah.
Don't know exactly why. I guess yeah. Like watch out because they're gonna charge taxes on those
Right.
too.
All right. Because
maybe?
I'm
Yeah.
gonna snag those fucking pennies,
Yeah.
like I'm the tax man. Like it still makes sense, but it's a little silly. It's a kind of a fun thing to hear because a couple of other versions do it too. It gives me a little giggle.
And then yeah, it kind of has a bit of a build for the end because like it does a refrain and then picks up a bit. So it's not like the super fast parts from between lines or anything, but it's picking up.
Mm-hmm.
And then it goes down to like bass and EP and just as the outro line. So there's a little more focus on that outro line that you're working for no one but me.
Yeah.
And then he adds even some more ad-libbing in the end as they kind of groove out because it's really
Mm-hmm.
stuck in this groove. This groove.
Mm-hmm.
So are those words related closely enough that pun is unnecessary?
Maybe stuck in a groove.
Is that why it's called a groove? Because you're like kind of
You're
stuck
like
in
in
it?
it because like you're in the pocket.
Yeah. Huh.
He kind of ends this one on a lot of ad libbing.
That man is rough a lot. Taxman is rough.
He can come and get you anytime you want. Would you believe he can come and get your lady? Then he says that tax man is a flip.
A flip.
Yeah.
Well, damn.
Yeah.
I don't know what that even means.
Is that a racist slur for Filipino?
Could be.
Could be.
That seems like too specific, and I feel like that's not.
I don't think
That's not a
can you
racial
imagine?
stereotype I've ever heard of.
Goes through the whole thing. He's like, that tax man's Filipino.
Oh, a flip.
Whoa.
A flip is
Junior
someone.
Parker.
It's if you flip. Well, here, I mean, if you go on Urban Dictionary, I looked it up, and it says if you flip something, you make a profit out of it. It's not used as a noun in that case.
What is a flip person?
To
Definition
sell
of flip,
someone out to
someone
the
bird is
police. A racial. So it is. Yeah, racial slur. Okay.
Is it bad to say
insane.
frickin'?
I don't think so.
Sorry, I'm just looking at related searches when I
Okay.
looked up flip slang. something
Like,
they
if you
profit
want to
off of
know, probably not. What a strange thing to ask Google.
it. Mm-hmm.
It's like, Google doesn't give a shit what you say. You know how much porn Google has seen?
Too much.
All right, who's up next? This one is one that you mentioned earlier.
Yes.
Black Oak, Arkansas. So you said this is one that you were familiar with.
In 1975, loosely. Black Oak, Arkansas, 1975.
Cause I'm the Taxman. Yeah, I'm your Taxman. Should 5% appear too small?
So yes, while my father was a fan of this southern rock band named after their hometown, I didn't actually know this version for a long time until
Okay.
I got into the Beatles, and I was like, Taxman, and my dad was like, oh yeah, I love that Black Oak, Arkansas version. I said, okay, covers suck, Dad. Why would I
Yeah.
ever spend my time listening to covers?
No one
I
likes
said.
cover music. Interesting
Foolishly.
band, though. Looking
Yeah.
them up, they are from Black Oak, Arkansas. They're named after their hometown. They supposedly stole the PA system from their high school and set it up in a grain bin and just like played loud music. And then they got charged with grand larceny and sentenced to 26 years in prison. But they ran away to live in northern Arkansas and play music there. And they were, I think, acquitted later. So yeah, that sounds like a fake backstory from some bands, but apparently it's real. And they don't sound like they look at all.
No.
I watched a video of them performing this song live. Supposedly David Lee Roth took a lot of inspiration from their lead singer. They definitely have a
Okay.
similar look.
Yeah.
And holy shit, tight pants. You want to see a guy's dick through his pants? Watch this video
All right,
of this
Doug.
performance.
You piqued my interest.
Because it is there. Yeah.
Yeah, I know the song "Lord Have Mercy on My Soul" by them, which is it's a long song.
Yeah, I had not heard of these guys before. Jim Dandy looks familiar. I wonder if I know their version of it.
Maybe. Oh yeah, that's Dick Through Trow right there.
Yep. On display, my friend.
Just out there. All right. Well, yeah, this is Black Oak, Arkansas, southern rock band. They play, and they like you said, if they influenced David Lee Roth, they're hard rock more than southern rock. They're known for having multiple guitar players, and their raspy voiced singer, who also is known for his antics, I suppose, like stealing PA systems.
Yeah, he also kind of sounds like Axl Rose almost, like for the rasp. A little bit.
Yeah.
At times, but more like raspy all the time. But yes, kind of hard rock. Some of the guitar tones are a little more of that like southern rocky feel, and obviously they are southern. And this one definitely feels like honest. Like they definitely don't like taxes.
Oh, for sure. And it comes with
Particularly
a bit
because
of
the
like
rant
like
at
you
the
said.
end.
Yeah, it comes with a bit of that Wild West vibe. It's like a
Little bit of twang on that guitar.
acoustic guitar there, yeah. And there's that like high pitched noise that comes in at the start there.
The woo.
Yeah.
Yeah. It does have a little western sound to it. They play the riff kind of. It's like different. It's like more even. It's not as
Yeah, they kind of remove the spaces between.
But they really, like you said, they're known for having like more guitar players. So there's a lot of sounds happening in this.
Yeah, so you get one doing like the rhythmic stings, you get one playing that section, the like actual riff. You get some drums going.
Yeah, pretty fast. Like they get like 16th note cymbals, particularly on the bridge. I noticed, or not the bridge, the verse. I noticed, but yeah, they can get faster on the drums.
And then there's also like some horns on this.
When did the horns come in?
They came in. I wish I would have marked it. Like 30 seconds. Or 28.
Did I not notice horns come in? Oh shit. Yeah, there's kind of a lot of
dog.
sounds in this one. I don't know.
That's
I
pretty
struggled with hearing some
rich
of this.
audibly.
Yeah. And like a fair like in the second verse you get like a guitar that plays between the lines.
That's right.
It's very echoey, which sounded fairly southern rocky to me.
Yeah, you get a bit of that like echoes of the great vast plains on that guitar.
Right, or like you're playing in a grain elevator, or what was it, a grain silo?
A
Grain bin.
silo.
I don't know the
Grain
difference
bin,
between all
yeah.
those things. I usually
Some
just
sort
call
of grain containment unit.
Yeah, something for grain.
Something for grain. Also worth noting, since in the refrain he says, "I'm your tax man."
I'm your tax man.
Man.
Tax
I'm
man.
to be too small.
Yeah, real raspy. Real raspy. They're
Real
still
fucking
around
raspy.
too.
God, he must sound like shit these days.
Oh, man. I wonder
That's
if
just
they
my
have any new
guess. I
material.
just did that voice for 5 seconds. I don't think I'm gonna be able to talk for the rest of the week.
Underdog Heroes by Black Oak, Arkansas. Anyway.
All right, Alex, let's keep it on track
let's
here.
Let's keep it going. What happens? They do a build. I mean, we talked about how they have a lot of we should talk about the bridge first. I'm getting ahead of myself.
No, talk about this bridge. We've set
talk
up.
about this bridge.
It's instrumentally rich,
Yeah.
and only becomes more so in the bridge.
Yeah. More they're backups. They don't do the repeat thing because
Yeah.
no one does the repeat thing. They
No,
say drive
'cause
a
why
truck
would
as
you?
well. If you drive a truck,
Yeah.
they got that fast bass going on, and then there's like another guitar riff they throw in to lead into that after bit where they just do the Taxman,
Yeah.
and then their own guitar solo. I mean, and again, yeah, solo fits their sound. Pretty
Yeah.
short.
Yeah, and they get some big hand claps in this section too.
Hand claps, clapping their hands.
Big, yeah,
And
like big echoey
tambourine.
ones, and tambourine, of course.
Yeah, but we're clapping along because you got to clap along. It's an audience thing.
And then we come into the ha ha verse, and they've replaced it with 2 other individuals.
Yes, who I have no idea who they were.
Yeah,
I looked up,
Alexander.
yeah, and Mr. Borman
Oh, maybe Mr. Borman.
I heard
thought
Mr.
Foreman, but
could be
yeah,
Foreman.
Borman could be it
could
as
be
well.
because I looked at Borman and that's a Nazi.
Okay.
But like other than that, I don't think they would have.
Alexander, obviously Alexander the Great, known for his heavy taxation policy.
Heavy taxation policy. That could be true. Honestly, I have no idea.
I have no idea. But yeah, so they have taken a step that a lot of other artists will take as well, which is plug in, I assume, political figures.
Yeah,
Of the
modern
time or-
political figures, whoever
Yeah.
they may be. I assume. I have no idea who they are.
Yeah, not a clue who they are, but they picked their own guys to laugh at, which is a good move. It's a solid move.
Yeah,
Because obviously, what do these guys care about Mr. Heath and Mr. Wilson?
nothing.
Nothing.
A lot of people just don't do the line at all either.
That's true.
Or they don't do the backup part. They've also like I jumped between the verses a couple times. They've
Mhm.
really just turned everything up. Like, well, the drums
Yeah.
playing more like kicks, but like I think the vocals and the bass are just kind of turned up. They're just louder.
Yeah.
But there's lots of sounds.
Yeah, and so we get the outro line. You're working for me. Only at like with a minute left in the song.
Yeah, and they don't do any fourth verse
Mm-hmm.
because they got to do his rant.
Yeah.
Did you? I couldn't understand all the words.
You got to give up all your share, understand, or
Oh.
something. Beware, little man.
Or
You get
"Yos,
something.
you better
I need your
beware."
money.
You getting my
I'll take the
inspection
heat.
for your protection? Is that later?
Oh, there you go. That might be
I'm
later.
sorry,
You might
honey,
have-
I need your money. I'll take
sorry,
the heat
honey, I
out
need
of
your
your
money.
house or the food
Yep.
from your baby's mouth. The more you make, the more I take. Tell me, do you understand? And then he
stand.
says working for the man twice.
Working for the man.
And then I wrote sounds. I don't know if he keeps talking though.
I think it is just sounds.
Okay, and then it kind of fades out as he's. It's hard to hear because it's fading out.
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't get the beginning. I got, haha, you gotta goomagobo shaya.
Turns into a baby.
And then they take the food out of his mouth. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, so this is why my dad is a staunch conservative. Is I think my theory. 'Cause
Doesn't
he
like
had this
taxes.
insane rant at the end of this version of Taxman. It was like, they're right.
It's bizarre how long that like the only thing I knew about my father's political inclinations was that he didn't like taxes. That might still be true. I'd have to assess my own
Reassess, yeah.
mind to know.
Definitely still true of mine. You know, he pretty much developed his political opinions, I think, from this, and then it's like, well, I got
Yeah,
those
from this
taken
song.
care of.
Ah, Black Oak, Arkansas. They got that covered, Taxman. Huh. Time to vote.
Tab, not a bad hard rock version.
No, pretty
It's
solid.
honestly pretty good. Pretty solid.
Odd voice, but like in an interesting way.
Distinctive.
Distinctive. Yeah, that's a better way of putting it. Now let's cross the pond.
Let's cross this pond in the year 1980 to talk about Chile.
'Cause I'm the Taxman. Yeah, I'm the Taxman. Keep that person up here to smile.
Chile. Seems to
Chile like
they're-
cold. Just to be clear. Sorry, no, go ahead.
They're German. They're a Euro disco / rock band. Seems to be mostly like dance type mixes of popular songs.
Yeah. And they existed from 1978 to 1983.
Yeah,
And this
kind of like
version we're talking
synthy.
about today is like a 2014 remix or remaster of that.
It says BBM remix. I don't really know
That's
what
right.
that means.
I
I'm
don't
not
know what
gonna
that
worry about it
means,
too
but that's
much.
the only version I could find. And that's why we're talking about it.
All right. This is
No.
an odd version.
Yeah.
The vocals do this like really like they sound like kind of inhuman and like they're weird.
Yeah,
it's re-
almost like they've been put.
yeah.
You know when like you get fucked up audio on a VHS?
Yeah,
got a bit of that
it's like a
vibe
little
to it.
distorted. It's a weird version. There's lots of like synths and the style's unusual. You know what's weird about the voices? To me, they
Mhm.
sound like they're adults playing like toys in a children's show. To me. That's the vibe I
Okay.
get from their voices.
I can't necessarily agree or disagree with that, but I'll keep
Yeah.
it in mind.
Like
Noted.
they're performing for children in a kind of exaggerated way.
Okay.
Yeah. Also, the beginning, they just take the money sounds from Money by Pink Floyd.
Oh.
I'm pretty
at
sure.
that.
Like, it sounds exactly the same.
Oh yeah, you're right, 100%.
Yeah.
And
But
they
yeah,
got some finger snaps. There's a bit of like radio tuning kind of noise,
yeah.
and them saying "Taxman."
And Taxman. And then the first verse is like this really, like, it's this electronic voice, but it's kind of spoken, and like, it's basically just multi-tracked a million times.
Yeah, he sounds like the fucking devil.
Yeah, he sounds like the devil.
Let me tell you
Yeah,
how
it's
it
like
will
the
be.
speak and spell thing.
Yeah.
With the devil, which I think is actually a Dane Cook bit. Anyway, I'm not gonna worry about that too much.
Like what this reminds me of is like a old like advertisement that you would have on a warped cassette.
oh,
from,
that's
like,
what. Yeah, it does
Yeah.
sound warped. It sounds artificially lowered, like slowed down. I
Yeah,
guess.
it sounds very
It's the
artificial,
opposite
very
of the Chipmunks.
spooky. It's meant to sound off kilter and evil, is I think the vibe here.
Yeah, and
I
like
f-
the
I
guitar
think they've
and the
done it.
synth, they're like playing like stings, which is what you play when you want it like ghost scary, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, it works. It works. Although that voice leaves. And
Yeah,
then
the
for
devil
the-
leaves.
Yeah,
and
the
then it's
devil
this
leaves after the
spooky
first
woman.
verse. Yeah. Which is again kind of like inhuman and like they're fake smiling the whole time. It's the like I'm gonna say
Yeah.
Stepford Wives thing, even though I've never seen the Stepford Wives.
And it's exactly like the Stepford Wives, a show I have also never seen.
Um
And anyone who says otherwise is full of shit. Come at us.
yeah.
You
We
don't know what you're
will
fucking talking about?
fight you, not like physically, but
We will fight over the seas and oceans. We will defend our opinions, whatever the cost may be. We will
Yes.
never surrender.
whatever the cost may be.
Dum, dum, dum,
Uh,
dum, dum.
And yeah, it builds a bunch of
No,
synth.
sorry.
So like, as they go, yeah. So like, there's a riff on the bass, but then like the synth is playing instead of guitar, and then in the second verse they add like another synth playing between the lines and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But it's still playing like kind of the riff, really.
Kind of the riff, yeah. And it's
Underneath
yeah,
everything.
and there's just
There's
like
still a
some
guitar playing it.
very like 80s instruments coming in with a lot of just unsettling
Bam, bam,
warping
bam,
and
bam.
distorting. And then
Yeah.
we hit the bridge where it just kind of whiplashes to just classic 80s synth.
Yes. More of like a sharper kind of like slow-ish attack, but not that slow. Like slow enough you notice it, but not slow enough to make it really feel slow.
Yeah.
And then theremin, I think, comes in for the solo a bit. It's not a theremin solo, but there's like a background of like ooh. They just kind of keep the groove going, and then the synth plays like a very brief solo.
Mm-hmm. I'm worth noting at the end of that bridge when they say
Oh.
feet, they go down real low. Feet.
Fit. Yeah, weird sounds. It's very like disjointed. It's I think just trying to be like surreal.
Yeah, which is I saw Euro Disco Rock and I was expecting like it's a dance beat to Taxman. But this is like some strange hell beast.
Yeah, they were definitely going for like what I would think of as more like a new wave thing, or maybe this was kind of before new wave really broke out,
Yeah.
or kind of early new wave of just like weird voices and synthesizers.
Yeah, I don't know. It's got like the veneer of like plastic dance music, but it's using that to be horrifying.
Yeah,
I
which-
think there's something very cool about this version.
Yeah, works. It's a bizarre version, but and it's off-putting probably because it wants to be.
Yeah. It's I don't know if it makes me fear the Taxman though specifically. I think it's
That's maybe a bit misplaced. It's just like a general like insidiousness, and also it's about a
Yeah.
taxman. Yeah.
and I think maybe because I associate this style with a sort of capitalism sheen, so I'm less worried about the Taxman and more worried about like the businessman.
That might just always be true of me.
And that also might just be my constant fear at all times of all hours of the day.
Yeah, I might just be afraid of everything.
If there's one thing I've learned this month, it's I fucking hate capitalism.
Ugh. Indeed, my
But
friend.
yeah, I think they really struck something that will stick in my brain. But
It's a unique sound.
it's a unique sound.
But is it as unique as ska?
Can anything be? Let's talk Ruder Than You in 1997.
Cause I'm the Taxman. Yeah, Taxman. If 5% appears too
A
The
ska
American
group
ska band
from
founded at Penn State
Pennsylvania.
University in 1989. So this did you read their Wikipedia page? Because I don't think I've seen one as self-edited as this Wikipedia page.
No, I think I read their description and it just said like people think they broke up because they haven't played since 1998. But that's not true. It's like, okay.
Okay.
I mean, it might as well be.
Here's a tasty little snippet from there.
Yeah.
They say the band's
Throw it at
current
me.
roster of veteran members includes the round mound of dub sound singer Freddie Weaver. Band leader Doug Dubrowski still sings and plays tenor sax. He and Don Pankow on bass hail from the earliest days of RTY. I mean, that's Ruder Than You. They got an acronym. Rod Martino and Chris Kilmchak fill out the lineup on guitar and trombone, respectively. Larry Ace Snell of the Toasters in Public Service sits on the drum throne.
On the throne.
I wanted to flag it. I wanted to become a Wikipedia editor just to flag it and be like, there's too much. There's too much
Something's wrong
flavor
here.
in this text.
No one would be able to dispute it. No one would know.
I know, right? They'd be like, I guess the round mound of dub sound is singer Freddie Weaver.
I mean, no one else is claiming to be the round amount of dub sound, so he kind of gets the title by default.
Exactly. He can claim to be whatever the fuck he wants.
Round amount of dub sound. What a title.
Yeah. So these guys have keyed in on the fact that the original song has just kind of like a steady groove that it rolls throughout, and they said, what if that steady groove was ska instead?
Yeah, well, also the way the kind of guitar stings work in the original, they're kind of on the backbeat, so they really just skank it up a bit, and then add some horns.
Oh, you didn't actually pause. I think I missed out on your connection. You said like,
Oh,
and then
no,
and then
yeah.
there was like a big blank, and I just heard a fucking
No, I did.
siren behind me, and then it's like, and then add some more. I was like, fuck, what? All right.
I said the original version has kind of they have like the backbeat thing going on
Right.
with the way the guitar stings work, so really they just need to make it a little skankier and add some horns.
Yeah, you're right. It's pretty easy to amplify elements of the original to make it sound more like ska. Even that bass line, like you throw the right tone on it, it's pretty much ska / reggae.
Yeah, their bass is a more of like it didn't seem like a walking bass line.
Mm-hmm.
But they're playing like boom 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 like that kind of thing.
Yeah, it's a groove. It's something that
Yeah.
has motion to it without ever necessarily walking to different parts and coming back. It's just like it's a groove.
Yeah. And of course they really push that that backbeat rhythm, especially with the vocals.
Oh, yeah.
They're really accenting. There's one for you, 19 for
Ting
me.
for me.
Yeah, so it's kind of
Yeah.
on that. A lot of that.
A lot of that going on these days. Of course,
there's
you get some
another-
horns in here as well.
You do. There's horns. But before the horns come in, right before the horns,
Mhm.
is that first refrain. They kind of switch it up. Like, when they get to the refrain, instead of doing that really heavy, like, skank, they do the ba 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 ba.
Right, yeah, they just start
Yeah.
hitting these single notes.
And then the horns come in. And then it goes back into that
Yeah.
skank, and the horns stick around.
Yeah, that section is almost reminiscent of Junior Parker's version.
More of that groove? Yeah, I didn't really compare
Yeah.
them directly. I'm trying to think.
Where he picks up the pace.
Right, because
at
he picks
the-
up between the lines. Between
It's not quite the same because his
yeah.
is da-na-na-na-na-na-na-na-na-na.
Similar in that it's that
da-da-da-da-da-da.
rhythmic switch up.
It's a similar movement to this sort of more fast pace driving.
I'd be curious how much, like, I'm always curious how much the previous covers influence the later ones, because obviously for people like us, you know, we think of things in terms of like, oh, this cover did this and this cover did this, and if you could put this together and that, and you know, sliding
Yeah.
pieces together. But I don't know how much other people would have listened previously to the other covers. But
Yeah, well, like you mentioned in the
Interesting
Black
to
Oak,
think about.
Arkansas version, they say truck instead of car.
True.
Which might suggest a Junior Parker influence.
might. But also,
But
trucks are
might
more
not.
associated with like
With
rural
the yeehaw lifestyle.
living.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Might just be convergent evolution, as it were.
Yeah, could be.
All right. So what do we do? We're skanking along. We're playing horns.
Yeah.
It's like horn licks between lines. Pretty common thing. It seems like a bit delayed to me. Like they don't start up. Like it's not like the line ends and they go right into the riff. Like
Mhm.
it waits a bit. I don't know if that seemed significant to you, but for some reason it seemed significant to me.
I didn't really
Yeah.
pick up on
I
it.
don't know why. Just something I thought of.
Just they're just taking
in
their
my
time with
brain.
it, you know?
Yeah, I guess so. It's ska. They're not in a hurry.
Yeah. Not in a hurry.
So kind of continues like that, and then we get to the bridge.
Yeah.
The bridge is interesting.
Yeah, it's
What's
it
is there?
was very unexpected.
Is there a word for this?
I believe it's called Toasting.
Toasting? Okay.
You know what? I remembered it in this minute in Jamaican music. Toasting, chatting, rap in other parts of the Anglo-Caribbean, or DJing is the act of talking or chanting, usually in a monotone melody, over a rhythm or beat by a reggae DJ. The lyrics can be either improvised or pre-written. So
Yeah.
it's within
Toasting.
that wheelhouse of toasting or
Yeah,
rapping.
it's definitely like the sort of Caribbean flavor
It
of
reminded me
rapping.
of Shaggy,
Yeah,
who
it's definitely
would
that
do
kind
this
of a
kind
sound.
of thing.
So he does a whole. I mean, he does the lines. He says like, "You take a walk," but it also has that like he does the like, "You take a waka."
You think
That's your feet.
It's all. It
It's
also
fast.
sounds like it's between rap and I want to say like, who's the band who does that? Well, like Korn or Disturbed. One of them does that like just noise making.
I don't know.
It is the focal. There's the middle point between those two ideas.
Where it's like kind of you get that like growling. Yeah, it's just like this very
Yeah.
like deep growling, like percussive
Mm-hmm.
delivery. But
Yeah,
it makes the
because his
bridge
delivery is percussive.
go very quick.
Yeah.
And then they just kind of go back into like the horns jump in again and they go skanking again. They do their little transition riff and then do
Yeah.
another verse. But
Mm-hmm.
the backups are now it's the bridge guy sticks around and he does the backups.
Yeah, he really puts that energy into it. It's not a ha-ha. It's oh,
He goes,
Mr.
"Oh,
Heath."
Mr. Wilson," yeah,
Yeah, Mr. Wilson
or
Mr.
whichever,
Heath.
Mr. Whoever.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so he kind of sticks around, like he comes back, you know,
Yeah.
for the other verses, and then he does another like I guess toasting section.
Mm-hmm.
And then he even kind of makes fun of the speed of his voice because at one point he says like "don't know what I said" and then just like laughs because he
Yeah.
says so many things and I have no idea what he said. I have none at all.
I know, not a fucking clue.
I like looked this up. It's always funny when you look up a version that you know is different to see if
Yeah.
anyone's recorded the lyrics. And allegedly, like a bunch of websites say like, "oh, this song by Ruder Than You." I'm like, okay, what is their version? But it's just the original lyrics.
It's just the original.
okay.
I tried to do that for like Black Oak,
Lame.
Arkansas.
Yeah.
And it was like, yeah, they say Taxman Mr. Heath. I'm like, they don't fucking say
I
that.
don't think so. Yeah.
It's very upsetting.
So then they
But
do,
also, yeah.
and then even another one. I got "Girl, You Look So Good." That's what I heard.
I
from
got
the next
that,
one.
which is very confusing with the rest of the song
Yeah.
happening.
Some like guitar feedback and stuff, and then it
Yeah.
kind of like the rest of the song kind of continues the fast rapping, and like the rest of the band, does a lot of like the like Taxman, yeah, Taxman, and it just kind
Yeah.
of goes back and forth between those. Oh, there's another part. Let's see.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm a tax man. I've come to collect your money if you don't want to, something like that. And then there's like a bum to bum, a diggity bum. You must pay to stay is in there. And
Yeah,
then
I caught that.
and then they're all harmonizing on Taxman and something about being on the run and then
On the
getting
run,
everything Taxman.
yeah.
They say Taxman. Taxman. So yeah, it's just like that gets extended, that like kind of like the refrain essentially as this toasting.
Yeah.
We better be using that word right because I'm saying it a lot.
Oh, we're saying it a lot. It's, yeah, I think I got it. You can blame me because I'm that guy who said it here on air first and said that's what it is. So it's
think,
still me.
I think it's come up before. But
yeah,
yeah,
it has come up before. I can't remember when. Probably in a Shaggy cover.
probably.
Yeah. So that's because this version is 4 minutes and 10 seconds long, and I was surprised one that this didn't feel awfully long to me, but two that I also thought that the toasting was, while confusing as hell, like pretty fun.
Yeah, it's definitely a switch up. And ska
Yeah.
is always like a bit fun.
Yeah.
It's kind of got that going on. So,
Right, and so, like we established like the groove pretty early on, and so for me it's like, okay, well, yeah, this makes sense. So I mean, you guys did it and it sounds good, but beyond that it wouldn't be very impressive. And then they said, well, what if we throw in this? What if we got a guy just fucking screaming at you for half of this? And I said, that sounds insane. And they said, yeah, it is. And I'm on board for it.
yeah, it's an odd one, but kind of fun.
Yeah, and ends on that vocal chorus of them just going, "Yeah, Taxman," with this minimal bass in there. It was boom boom.
Yeah, so it is kind of weird. Like they keep the skank going, but some of the more like ska energy doesn't happen in that back half.
Yeah. It's another in a line of interesting covers. I haven't been bored by a single cover yet.
Nope. Speaking of, we got to go north a ways,
Fuck yeah.
and we got a little bit more Canadian content coming in from Canadian. Are they a progressive rock band technically?
I would call them that, yeah.
Saga.
In 1997.
I'm the Taxman. Yeah, I'm the Taxman.
97,
Yeah.
which is like quite a ways after what I would say is their heyday, which is like more in the 70s.
It's like late 70s,
Late 70s?
maybe early 80s.
I can check this thing.
What-
Yeah, it's still mostly like classic lineup based on this. I'm saying 80s,
Right.
mid 80s.
Okay.
Early
Yeah.
mid
See,
80s,
my
yeah.
my touch
Late
point is the
70s.
only album by them I know, Worlds Apart,
Worlds
which
Apart?
has fucking Wind 'Em Up on it,
Wind 'em up, he
which
can't
rips.
stop.
That song's
And,
so
like,
good, and On the Loose.
On the Loose. Amnesia?
For
Like
hits.
Amnesia. Anyway.
Amnesia.
Amnesia. It's got what? Amnesia.
I
that
fucking
bad,
love this
Doc?
whole album.
They've also got another song on it. Scratching the Surface.
Mm.
It's also a Saga song. Scratching the surface, you better come up for it. A
Okay, I don't
new
know that one.
experience to get you there. That's another Saga song. So they got a couple memorable songs like Worlds Apart. And yeah, this is them in the late 90s.
Yeah. So the sound on this, from like a guitar tone and sort of composition, kind of like Tin Machine.
Tin Machine. Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can
Just a
hear
bit
that
of
in the
that, like,
guitar.
Yeah, because they're both like kind
It's
of in
very
the same
distorted.
era, and in that sort of arena of being like art rockers coming at a sort of more hard approach. I mean, these guys are prog rockers, but I think prog rock and art rock can share a backyard together. You know,
Sure, sure.
they have some similarities.
Sure. And also, like, I think the guys, obviously David Bowie, but even the other guys in Tin Machine were kind of like more established. It's not like they were
Mhm.
young guys. They
No,
played with him, like,
exactly.
in
So
the 70s.
there's
So.
a similar root of being like 70s rockers trying to make rock and roll music in the grunge era.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Interesting. I can kind of hear that. There's definitely like quite a bit of distortion on the guitar there. And it's
Not
like
so much
it
like
sounds.
Tin Machine 2, more like Tin Machine 1, I think, which is a little more of a prototype. I think Tin Machine 2 is a little more refined. Of course, there's a lot of stuff that went on differently in that recording process, but yeah, I'm talking Tin Machine 1.
There's the way the guitar sounds. I thought it sounded more like appropriate for like a texture situation, but it's not really used
Mhm.
that way.
Right.
It's kind of used for the riff, so it was a little unusual, I thought, in that way.
Yeah.
They also have. I don't think it's actually a voice clip. They seem to like to use voice clips in their songs. This,
Right.
I think, is just them doing a weird voice. But
Well,
I imagine
think
you would
they
do it as a
hired
clip.
the central scrutinizer from Joe's
Central
Garage.
Scrutinizer. Yeah, so there's kind of like voice clips, which also kind of reminds me of Amnesia because they threw that in there.
Amnesia.
Amnesia. And yeah, it's definitely more of like a hard rock feeling. There's parts also later on, particularly the backup vocals, remind me of Yes. They're just like very high backup vocals with like a lot of tracks. So
Yeah, and that's what makes me think that they couldn't quite shake their more prog rock stylings, because that seems like a prog rock move. Those
Yeah.
vocals.
yeah, I agree. I agree. And what else is of note in this one? That's kind of how they do it. Sounds like Saga
Yeah.
vocals.
Yeah. So it starts out with one vocal track on the first line. It says, "Let me tell you how it will be," and then they harmonize on the second one. "There's one for you, 19 for me."
Yeah, and he seems to like the see, let me try that again. They stick with the multiple tracks for the rest of the song, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, they kind of play it in this style.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, that is like a really texturous guitar, but it is trying to do this riff.
Yeah, sorry, I'm just note on the bridge is where I'm hearing a lot of the that like backup vocals in that maybe yes-ish style when they do the
Right.
what else happens? So okay, then they have a guitar solo. It's pretty quick. It's like just the beginning of I think they do a version of the guitar solo basically
Mm-hmm.
from the original. Yeah. It kind of sounds like that. Or similar. Anyway, and then third verse is kind of a breakdown verse. So
Yeah, they do drums, and of course it's the
yeah,
'90s, so there's also record
record
scratching.
scratch sound. Yep. And then this is of course the verse with the names. They replace the names with Clinton
Mm-hmm.
and Coke,
Yeah.
which I know the Koch brothers. Well,
Mm-hmm.
one of them died. It's only one left.
Damn.
Like they're like big business guys, so I don't know if it's the same one or not. I mean, it's not that uncommon a name. So
Yeah. I
yeah.
wonder if it's because we're now it's also the '90s. We're swinging to capitalism now.
Yeah.
Politicians are bad, business is bad. But like Coke doesn't tax people, so I mean, not in the traditional sense. There's not a Coca-Cola tax that anyone pays, unless you
No.
count living in a capitalistic hellhole as the tax, which you could,
But
but
I
not
mean,
not traditionally in the definition of taxes.
there's an entire Wikipedia page on the political activities of the Koch brothers. So like they're
Hmm.
big, I think, lobbyists, and they like nowadays. Oh man, they're associated with a lot of um. What word would I even right?
Shitbaggery, is that?
Yeah, shitbaggery. No, like right wing,
Yeah,
political.
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
gonna
yeah.
say machines,
Mm.
networks, and
And
um information spreading groups. Let's say.
right, counterintelligence organizations. Boom, got him.
uh,
I would
anyway,
have fucking
so
killed in the '90s. I could be a
'90s
'90s
comedian.
anything.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Counterintelligence organizations. Like, hey, Clinton, how how's that NAFTA going for you? Anyway, let's not get into that too much.
That would kill in the '90s open mic.
Destroy in the '90s. All right. I mean that's I think pretty much. Oh, one more significant thing happens in this version,
Mm-hmm.
and that's that they go into the Beatles have birth. Is it called birthday song?
Yeah.
I'm forgetting the name now. Is it just called? Yeah.
Da-na-na-na-na-na-na.
So they
I-
say it's our birthday, and they say happy birthday, and there's some chatter, and I don't know what they say, and there's lots of like outro sounds. So there's like some talking, and then that growly voice comes back, and the distorted guitar, and there's all this feedback, and then someone says thank you. It's a growly
Yeah.
voice is presumably taking your money and saying thank you, and then yeah,
Yeah.
that's it.
It is. Yeah. This one is chaotic. It is loud. There is like a penchant to lean back on '70s prog rock kind of ideas. Like you get synth briefly in the background. It's like very tough to hear, but around the like declare your pennies line, it's in there just enough. And you're right, we got this growly voice saying things. It's like
A lot of stuff.
it's a lot of stuff. It comes out sounding interesting. No
Yeah,
doubt
it didn't
about that.
seem
It's
like
a very
too much
interesting
to me
version.
or anything.
Yeah, and it doesn't sound bad either. But it is like a interesting product of the era. It's very much
Yeah, it feels a little dated.
yeah. And it also suffers from the ruder than you problem of a voice that I can't understand saying things to me that are brand new.
Right.
And this one, it's the central scrutinizer. Scrutinizing things. but a version that leaves me interested and thinking. Anything that gets me thinking about David Bowie, it's probably a pretty good version.
That's usually a good sign.
Mm-hmm. That's why we're going to talk about a completely different version that doesn't have me thinking about David Bowie. That's Besonegro in 2003. Who is not an intoxicating blend of Gypsy, Latin, and Americana, but rather a rock band from Peru.
That's who they are? Okay.
Yes.
I wasn't sure.
Well, you got to do your research, and sometimes Discogs.com and their one sentence bio is the best you can get.
Discogs. See, I was just stuck on this Besonegro website.
Yeah, but they didn't have any of the same albums, which is to say just this one album.
Just this one album, yeah. So they are Not Your Father's Gypsy Jazz, but not because they are the band that says they're Not Your Father's Gypsy Jazz. They're just straight up not Gypsy Jazz in any way.
And they're certainly not your father's.
Certainly not Don't Belong to Your Father.
Yeah.
No, this one jumps right into the music.
Yeah, a little like country groove.
Yeah, a little bluesy on that guitar.
Yeah.
Kind of, it's like smoother version of the original idea kind of thing.
Yeah.
What else happens? What's this version like? It's very even sounding. I think part of that is the bass line. The bass line's not super prominent, but it's kind of like it's this walking bass line. It's very regular.
Yeah, easy
throughout.
blues bass line.
Yeah, I think it kind of ties everything together. And the guitar tone's like pretty clean.
Yeah. And yeah, even drums.
Yeah, but like generally, like they get into it. Like there's that guitar riff that we mentioned with the clean guitar. It's like very bright, not much sustain. And then like you get into the verse and it kind of continues and the vocals come in. Like it just keeps going. So really the switch up is on the refrain, where the guitar strums instead of playing that riff.
Mm-hmm.
And then they actually bring backup vocals in, but only on like the second repeat of the word Taxman.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so like that's kind of like the two sections is the verse and the refrain there.
Yeah,
and then
like
they just
very chill,
those, yeah,
very laid back. It's kind of like hey, this is the song. It's pretty forgettable, honestly. It's not bad by any means. The guitar solo's fine in this.
Yeah, it's like relatively straightforward. I agree,
Mm-hmm.
and like kind of chilled out version.
I mean, if I was, I came to a bar or something, I heard the lads playing this, I'd be like, yeah, we're in an all right place.
Yeah, all right. I'd expect a harmonica solo almost. That doesn't happen.
Yeah, that might have actually gone better than the guitar solo. But like, yeah, good tone on the guitar. I like it. The bass, the groove is good. It's simple, but it's good enough, right?
Yeah, it's definitely something you can groove along with. They don't necessarily go anywhere with that, but
yeah, that's the thing is they don't go higher than that. Is they set up a good bass line, and I mean that is in like a minimum line of satisfactory.
But also the bass line too.
Also the bass line's good, but they never jump beyond that. And I think they could. You know what? I'm gonna say it.
Yeah,
I think they could.
So good bass line. Climb.
But hey. You know what? We've been on such a fucking roller coaster ride of covers. It's good to have something
to just chill out a bit.
Simple.
Yeah,
just
honestly,
right.
like I was listening to the Saga one, and it was like last night, kind of the end of my day, and it was just like it was sensory overload. It was too much.
It was too much, right? I was like, holy fuck! What? How am I supposed to write notes on this?
So even though earlier I said it's not too much, and I think I still agree with that, I was like tired last night, and I was like, it was too much.
Yeah,
I was tired.
from an analytical perspective, when you're at the the end of your workday,
Yeah.
it's a lot to take in.
It was overwhelming.
So yeah, Besonegro, way to take it easy. You know what? Not fucking bad. Let's talk about Talk in 2010.
'Cause I'm the Taxman. The Taxman.
Talk, talk, talk. These guys are German. Just like
An
Chili.
acoustic
Chili was
soul
German, right?
band. Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah, they kind of got like some jazz going on.
Yeah. So yeah, another simple version, honestly. But yeah,
Yeah.
this one is kind of your standard,
Definitely more
like,
jazz inspired.
chill jazz performance. You get
Yeah.
that guitar sting, those two notes, that bump bump on the piano.
Bam. Yep, got that electric piano coming in.
Yeah. Stand up bass doing the other half of it. And then drum focused on the hi hat and just some, real easy. Everything here is meant to be real easy.
Cymbals.
hmm And there is a horn too that doubles the piano.
Oh yeah, some saxophone.
Bam,
And yeah, again settles into a groove. That's how the song goes. But they make it groovier. I really like the groove in this one, personally.
Yeah, I think it does a good job of being a groove.
Come in with vocals, female vocalist.
Yep.
Kind of soft.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, what else happens? Like,
Backup vocals for
it's
the
groovy,
bridge.
man. It's groovy.
Yeah. It's
They
groovy,
continue
it's
the
easy
groove.
breezy.
Even during the bridge. The backup vocal sound, it's just the same person, right? Just
Yeah, I think.
just more tracks. Yeah.
Yeah.
The saxophone solo, I support
Yep.
that strongly. And then the sax kind of keeps playing after that. So even though the saxophone was supporting the riff before, this where it gets, it basically continues the solo over top of a refrain.
Mm-hmm.
And then the electric piano. The electric piano has been playing in the refrain. Some like extra chords, plays like a descending chord thing. It like has a riff. It like has a little riff that it plays.
Yeah,
in the
100%.
refrains. So yeah, it plays that, and then there's kind of a saxophone soloing as well, and it's just the refrain part.
That's right. That is exactly right.
Yeah.
This version is so smooth, I found it hard to take notes on. Because I would just kind of let it play in the back, and I'd be like, oh fuck, the song's over. I was like, okay, go back to just after the sax solo. I did it like 3 or 4 times. I was like, just after the sax solo, and
kinda like
then
zoning
I was like,
out.
it's done. Yeah, just zoning out. I was like, fuck, what happened?
Yeah. But I honestly really enjoyed this one, kind of for that version. You could sort of get lost in it.
I found it all right. I didn't find it blowing me away. It kind of falls in the same level as Besonegro for me. Just simple, it's easy, nothing necessarily wrong with it. I don't think it ascends to incredible heights. I think it just maybe has a couple of pieces that haven't been present in other versions yet, so that gives it some value.
I thought the groove was stronger in this one versus Besonegro.
Yeah, that was about the same.
But that's me, man.
But stand-up bass doesn't impress me. What, so your bass is the size of a man? That don't impress me much.
Don't impress you much.
But hey, if it tickles your ivories, Alex, you run with that.
That sure does tickle my ivories.
I'll say that tickles my
You know what else
ivories.
tickles my ivories? Canadian content.
You need like
CanCon.
a sound drop for that.
Just like
I
the
don't know,
national
like-
anthem.
Yeah. And that's too slow. You need like
just the beginning, just the first couple notes.
We need like a beaver noise or something. Something.
Or-
the
what does a
noise of
moose sound
moose
like?
call? Yeah, I don't know. We both did
So
a donkey.
we both
All right.
don't know what a moose sounds like.
But Canadian content coming back on Entrepreneur Summer alumni already, or alumnus, because he's a singular man. Randy Bachman in 2018.
Randy Bachman.
He made Taking Care of Business and was also a member of the Guess Who.
Yes, with BTO.
What
he
else
made
do you guys
Taking Care of
want?
Business.
That's correct.
And he's Canadian.
He's Canadian.
And
He's content,
apparently
I
doesn't
imagine.
like taxes. Or likes this
Apparently
song.
not.
This is off an
No.
album of George Harrison covers. It's called By George.
By George.
By George by Randy.
Oh, it's by Bachman.
Oh, is it Bachman?
It does say by Bachman here.
Oh, I thought it was Randy, but it's clearly not. So that would have been fun.
Yeah, and let's be real here. In 2018, you're a rocker. You're a 1960s, 1970s rocker knocking out a cover album. You could phone this in. You could Rod Stewart this and be done for the day.
Easy.
Easy. But not if your name's Randy fucking Bachman.
No, apparently not. He, yeah, this is quite a version, quite frankly.
Yeah, and I think still plays on the principles you mentioned when we talked about BTO. You said they were this like return to basics kind of groove rock.
Yeah, it
And-
like sets up
yeah.
the boogie. Pretty early
That was
on.
it, boogie rock.
Yeah, boogie rock.
And
it
that's
also,
I feel like that's exactly what he does.
yeah, but in addition to that, kind of switches it up because the way they perform it, it sounds more like verse chorus than verse refrain. They really like they kind of repeat the refrain and make it longer. So it's more like a chorus instead of a refrain.
That's right.
So, yeah, like they have their own riff, really, or like their own version of the riff that kind of gives it like a galloping sound.
That's right. Aided by the drums as well, which are
Yep. So is that what boogie is? I feel like we asked this question before and still don't have an answer.
Wait, nobody ever answers us, Alex. That's the problem with this show.
Yeah. And then what
It
else?
opens with two notes, kind of which also sounds one like a general Beatles tribute, and also sounds like Taxman.
True. Yeah, it sounds like Taxman, but yeah, definitely. What song is it? That just starts with a chord in the Beatles.
With the Beatles chord.
Beatles
Fucking
chord.
Hard Day's Night.
I think so. Been a
I think so.
hard day's night. Yeah, I think so. It's like kind of pause.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of got that, and then they'd play this like like that's kind of the riff. So then we get into the verse, and it's kind of plays that, sings to play that, they kind of trade off back and forth again. Someone else is singing too. There's another voice, don't know who.
And also, there's a lead guitar kind of riffing and licking around that groove they set up. So it's like
True.
and there's two voices on the track. There's I assume Bachman up front, and then like a more strained, higher one in the back there.
Yeah, it sounds like he's really, really going. And the other thing they do, first and second verses are squished together. So the verses
That's
are
right.
longer, and then the like refrain becomes the chorus, basically. It's kind of cool how they do it. The bass kind of walks. They do more of a walking bass. Is that a walking bass line? It's not even.
It's kind of just like chord changes.
I thought it was more of a walking bass line, but it's not really. But it does switch it up, and the guitar starts playing up high.
If those are in a certain like relational position to each other, like I think if they're fifths, it can count as a walking bass line because that's one of the translations or one of the transitions you can do is the fifth.
I think it's almost like the way it plays like dun 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 dun, and then like dun 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 dun. So like that's the part that kind of sounds
like
to
they
me.
do a walk up to it.
Yeah,
kinda.
like I guess it's just it walks a bit, but it's not like a walking bass line.
Yeah, it's not an advanced walking. But when they teach you, or at least from what I've read from learning walking bass lines, they always start you out and they're like, play 4 of the root note, then play the next root note. It's like, baby, that's a walking bass line. It's like, okay.
Yeah, baby, I'm walking. This bass is
it's not the most complex. It's not fucking moon dance.
Right.
Moonwalk, but you know, it bears some of the structure of a walking bass line in the chorus here, and that's it's doubled on the piano as well, right? There is a piano in this.
Yes, there is piano chords, and then they get the like Taxman.
Yeah, they double up vocals or get the backup chorus on the word Taxman specifically.
Yeah,
every
so
time
they
it
really
comes
push
up.
that like Batman thing.
Yeah.
On the Taxman line. Then the guitar does like they have a little guitar solo after that, which is kind of like in Taking Care of Business, where they would have like kind of like a bit of a bit for the guitar to do a thing, and then back into another verse. Go back into the main riff and then do another verse. Now this second verse, which is basically the third verse with technically original lines, but they're really taken from the structure of the bridge. And then also says, if you're a bird, I'll tax your wings. We love to tax most anything. I don't know if the bird line is a reference to "and your bird can sing."
Oh, maybe.
But anyway.
So yeah, he throws in that line similar to the line about taxing your feet in a way. He's like, I'll tax Mother Nature. I don't give a fuck.
Tax whatever the fuck I want to. Yeah, so similar idea. But taken from the bridge, but basically just extended verse. Also getting some screechy guitar riffs in between lines. There's quite a lot going on.
Yeah.
And then another chorus, their sort of chorus section, which is taken from the refrain. And then they actually do a bridge.
That's right.
Yeah. Breakdown, really.
That's right. You get a little,
So you
it's
get
a
that,
breakdown, bit of echo on the vocals.
Yeah.
The street, the street, the street. Boom, 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 boom. Get a little bit of bass at the end of each line.
Yeah. It kind of, to me, had this like sort of controlled chaos sound to it. So there's just like a lot of sounds happening and sort of doing completely different things, but they work together.
Yeah, they seem to collide at the right angles that things work out.
Yeah. Yeah. So pretty cool. And then
the guitar solo after that.
Yes, they kind of go back to the main riff for like a bit and then into a solo. Guitar's going pretty wild. I wasn't sure if it was a solo at first. I thought it might be a brief one like the last one, but this one's a bit longer.
No, this is the real one.
Oh, yeah. And then they do the classic move of like they go into another chorus, but the like guitar that was soloing just kind of like keeps going. You can't stop
Keeps going, yeah. It's a classic.
And then it slows down for the ending.
Yeah, we kind of drum roll down to one final note, and then there's a bit of bass that kind of plods along after.
Yeah. But everything else is like it's just guitar like fading out.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a cool version. Like you said, definitely could have phoned it in, but didn't. So very respectable. I honestly, going into this one, I was like, oh, Randy Bachman in 2018, it's going to be the shittiest thing. But no, I was very impressed by it in the end.
Yeah, I was expecting just buy the book.
I didn't think it was going to be the shittiest thing. Yeah, I thought it would be very safe.
Yeah, it's just a very safe, straightforward one. And he's just like, no, we're going to flip it.
But no, he did some cool stuff with it. Which, I mean, like, not the most out there, stuff. But pretty solid.
Pretty goddamn solid.
And a good translation of this song.
Yeah, I think he put the work in, and he's a professional musician, so it shows,
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's talk our final verdicts here, Alex. We're going to talk about the worst version, the best version, and the version for businessmen, baby. It's entrepreneur summer. If you're a businessman, which one of these audio profiles is going to resonate most with you?
Yeah. Which one's business?
Which one's all business, no bullshit? All business, some bullshit too. Alex, worst version, what is it?
What's the worst version? What is the worst version? Are there any that I didn't like? Specifically? Honestly, it's probably Besonegro. I didn't think it was terrible, but I didn't like it as much as any of the other versions, so there you go.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, it's kind of a tie for me between them and Talk Talk Talk. I know you like Talk Talk Talk.
I did.
I didn't really give a fuck about them. I might just give it to Besonegro as well, though, because like a standard rock version of a rock song is not earth-shattering, whereas at least Talk 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 is a boring version of a different genre. So hey, that's something different. So yeah, it's neither of those versions are bad in the way we traditionally use that word on this podcast, but just not the best of this gathering, which is a lot of big names and a lot of weirdos. So there's no shame in being not the best here.
Yeah, they're just the normal ones.
Yeah. With that, Alex, let's talk about it. Who could possibly be the best version of Taxman?
Who could? Honestly, I was prepared to give this to Talk Talk Talk.
That's crazy.
I
I'm gonna
know,
be on.
crazy sounds crazy, right?
That's
then-
lunacy.
Then I heard the Randy Bachman version. I was like, how could I give it to anyone else? It was a very, very strong version.
Yeah,
And-
very strong.
Yeah, and even like some of the other versions were pretty cool. There was some cool sonic soundscapes, but it was the one that like I had the lowest expectations for, and then it defied those expectations, and I was impressed in the end.
Yeah,
So
just came swinging.
yeah,
Randy Bachman.
gotta give it to Randy.
Alex, first I want to do a list of every version that's better than the Talk 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 version. Junior Parker, Black Oak, Arkansas, Chili, Ruder Than You, Saga, and Randy Bachman. All better
I see
by,
you've listed all of them.
by miles, by leagues.
I really liked the Talk 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 version.
I mean, you are entitled to your opinion, but I think that is nuts. Anyway, I think I gotta agree. I think Randy Bachman knocked it out. It's just big energy. The and I almost want to give it to Junior Parker because I think the blues feel on this one is so good and plays so well. But in terms of being a version that has that listenability and this some real punching drive to it, if there needs to be some edge to this version, it comes in the Randy Bachman version of all places.
Yeah.
Like Saga's a little confused, I think, as to how to nail the tone exactly right. Chili has a crazy tone, but it's like not quite, I think, what the song needs. A Ruder Than You is just wild, and then Talk 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 is just too subdued for me, man. And like Black Oak, Arkansas is your dad's rock and roll. In this case, my dad's rock and roll. So
Indeed, it is.
I have to be away from that one. But like Randy Bachman. And this man, I mean, an entrepreneur summer. He's coming back. He came back to win as a Cover Me competitor.
Yeah,
Unheard of.
impressive. That's an impressive record.
Yeah, best version, Randy Bachman. Now, Alex, another crazy question to ask: the most business version.
The most business version. Okay, here's the thing. These
Mhm.
are businessmen. You know they're down with the ska. And I don't know why, but I just know it. You know?
Yeah, you know they're all doing the toasting bit with.
They're all doing the toasting bit together. Maybe. I don't know. It's
in
only
the most
time.
racist way you can imagine.
Yes, absolutely. It's got to be Ruder Than You. They're skanking a bit. They've got the hats. They've got the shoes. They've got the three-piece suits. They're skanking, my friend.
They're skanking. Business. It's skanking. Tune in next summer for Skankinpreneur Summer. That's a good choice, Alex. I'm gonna go with Chili because it has all the makings of capitalism in there, and it's also horrifying. But I think as a businessman, you wouldn't see the horror of these terrible capitalist overtones. You just be like, "This is good. This is what the people want. This will make us money."
Yes, this is what the people want.
Yes. So you'd key into the terror of Chili and be like, "This is good," and play it with your businessman friends as you complain about taxes. That's our final verdicts. If you have a different opinion, a similar opinion, want to talk to us about a version we didn't talk about, of which there are many, hit us up on Twitter, #CoverMePod, @JakeTheCressy, @SomeAlexWiseGuy. Rate us, review us. We're on Spotify, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, your favorite podcasting app. Tell your friends about us. Tell your family about us. Tell a stranger about us. Tell someone today. That's our main segment. It's time for our bonus segment. It's another episode of What's Pokemoning On. We had a title for this.
Did we?
What's going on in Pokemon 25 or something? It was, it's never a real title. It's
What's
some nonsense
poking
that's too
on?
long to say. What's poking on? I said, hey, what's poking on? Tell me what's poking on, Alex.
There's a new Pokemon 25 song is what's on, and it's
That's what's on.
quite frankly by an artist I've never heard of before, because we're apparently just old fucks now.
Yeah,
Artist called Mabel.
that's right.
Anonymous Mabel.
Anonymous
it's called
Mabel.
Take It Home. And it's I don't know what it's about, honestly.
It's about taking it home. It's about
About taking it home.
friendship and love. We'll talk about the lyrics real quick here. First of
Yeah.
all, Mabel had her breakthrough in 2017. She is a UK artist. Her studio album, was in 2019, so she's very fresh on the scene, but also very popular. She won the Brit Award for British Female Solo Artist in 2020. So she's like, this one's for the Zoomers, is my understanding. Katy Perry and Post Malone were the the millennial crossover section. This one's just for the Zoomers. It's my understanding.
Yeah, I see that. It's definitely not something I know about.
Certainly not. Not anywhere in my realm of knowledge. Now let's talk about these lyrics, Alex, because the question we always ask with these is, how is it possible that Post Malone set the bar too high for every other performance? We don't know, but somehow he did it with a cover of Hootie and the Blowfish. So the first question we always ask: are there any lyrics that actually relate to Pokemon, like directly? Is there any direct calls to Pokemon? Here's the best I got, Alex. The fourth line of this song, she says, "I'm your champion." There are champions in Pokemon.
There are. That's more of a Digimon thing, though.
True, it's what you digivolve
But
into.
you do become a champion of the Pokemon League.
I guess they use the word master more in Pokemon. To be a
I'm
master.
trying to think. Do they
Pokemon
say
master.
champion in the opening song?
I want to be a champion, like no one ever was.
I mean,
yeah,
yeah,
that's in
well,
there.
to be the very best could be being a champion, but that's a bit of an extrapolation.
Yeah.
Got you 100 all the time.
Yeah, let's read out
Pick
these
it up, pick it
lyrics
up,
real
pick it up.
quick. Lights, camera, action. Star of this attraction. Whenever you need me, I come running. I'm your champion. You know that I got you. Call me. I'm a come through. I can break a promise, but I swear to God, I love you. That's first one. Then we get the pre-chorus. It's true that, yes, baby, I got you 100 all the time. If you need someone by your side, well, you know what you should do. Yeah. Then we come to the chorus, which is, baby, come now. Pick it up. If you want to take it home, if you want to take it. Baby, come now. With your love. If you want to take it home, like, if you want to take it. Where do we come? Where do we go? Baby, right now. Where do we come? Where do we go? Baby, come now. With your love. If you want to take it, you want to take it home. And then we come to verse 2, which is, run it, come, let's go. Brackets, oh. 'Cause you and me, unstoppable. And oh, if you're in, let me know. Oh. And then we get the pre-chorus, the chorus again. We get a bridge that says, it's true. I'm done with playing by them rules. With you. 'Cause I already did that. Ooh, oh yeah. All together, we can't lose. Well, you know what we should do? Yeah, chorus. And then that's it, man. That's the fucking song.
There's a lot more words than I thought.
There's a lot more words, arguably more words than in Taxman.
Quite a
so
few
much
more.
less like definitive words.
True, a lot of it is like pick it up, but not actually.
Yeah,
that.
which is very ska punk. Pick it
Yeah.
up, pick it up, pick it up.
Wait a minute, is her hair 25?
Is it? And
No.
the way it's because her
No.
gym trainer hair.
Yeah. She's got some. Her hair is just like done up. She's also got like this strange. It's like a bodysuit, but it's like all cut out.
Yeah, the one she starts. We'll talk about the music video in a second, and I want to talk about these lyrics because,
Okay.
as far as I can tell, the only like I said, the theme is friendship and love and like unity. So she'll come running to you if you need her. She loves you. It's all about being by your side and taking it home, which is where you take Pokemon home to your house to play the game and enjoy the franchise.
Sure. Yeah.
This is it. That's all I
yeah.
got.
So I mean, so far the biggest Pokemon connection in any of these 3 songs that have been released so far is the electric Katy Perry thing, just because it's about electricity, which is a Pokemon
Right.
type. Really?
Well, and that's
and
from
some
a
of the
lyrical
samples in
standpoint.
the Post Malone one.
Correct. Yeah, the Post Malone musically is the most connected.
Yeah, true.
And at least there's an idea in Post Malone's of him being like, well, in 1996, this was also what was popular alongside Pokemon. So there is like some ideas loosely connecting it. But
Sure.
you're right in that lyrically, Hootie and the Blowfish is not talking.
Yeah.
The Dolphins are not.
Hootie and the Blowfish,
in-
famously a song about Pokemon.
Yeah, famously a song about Pokemon. I can't
Or
remember
a
the
song,
name
a
of the
band
song
that
right now.
sings about Pokemon. Only want to be
Yeah.
with you.
That's right. I'm such a bear, 'cause the dolphins make me cry. Yeah, but somehow that like we were getting even further removed. And so in this video, we're gonna talk about that now because I think we've talked the lyrics
Yep.
to the furthest
Let's talk
extent.
about the video. Think she falls asleep and then wakes up in a Pokemon dream?
Well, yeah, 'cause she comes home in her full leather bodysuit, and then from whatever event, home or a hotel, it's unclear to me. I think it's a hotel.
Looks like a hotel to me, because she runs through the hallways later, and it's like hotel.
That's
hallways.
right. And she's trying to find something on TV, and she settles on Pokemon, where we see a large fucking Pikachu.
Giant Pikachu and a Celebi.
And they are becoming friends or something. I don't know if this is from a Pokemon film or just some random promo footage. But she watches this and immediately passes out.
And then has a dream of some sort where her hair's done up, and yeah, pink and yellow like tracksuit, but it's like a vinyl tracksuit,
Yeah.
and it's completely cut out. I'm actually
There's a lot of
surprised because
cutout.
like, I mean, times have changed obviously, but like in when Pokemon first came out, I don't think Nintendo would have put out or
Allowed
like
boobs.
exactly. What I'm saying is there's too much cleavage in this video for 2000.
Oh yeah, this was the era of particularly in animation where they would like would just wipe out the cleavage line and be like, "There's
Yeah.
no boobs there."
Yeah, just not there. So I just like I don't know. I'm not complaining about that or anything. I just something I was thinking about. I was like, wow, 20 years ago, this wouldn't have
Yeah.
been in something that is, I mean, aimed at children, right? Because it's
Mhm.
Pokemon 25 album. Again, not trying to be all pro clutching, and I'm not saying they shouldn't do it now. I'm just saying they wouldn't have done it then.
Yeah, interesting to see how times have changed. So she finds a magical Jigglypuff and follows it down these hotel halls. Basically, she looks like she would be a gym leader now in her getup.
True. Yes, she does look like a gym leader. There's a connection, but it's only in the video.
If only, and I'm drawing those connections. She doesn't
True.
then become a gym leader in this.
No, she
video.
falls down. She like gets in the elevator and like falls down into nothingness and has a different outfit on. Same hair though.
Yeah, same hair. So she's playing like hide and seek with this Jigglypuff. This Jigglypuff knocks a ball over.
Where do we come? Where do we go? Where do we fly?
What do I show? What do I show? There's a Pikachu because that's I guess like a legal obligation to have Pikachu in your
Yeah,
video.
there's Pikachu. There's the Jigglypuff from before. They're just like messing around. Apparently, Jigglypuff can fly. Then she says, "Let's go," and she turns around and beckons the Jigglypuff,
Yeah,
and then she dances. And there's a Pokeball
sure
also.
does. And then summons backup dancers at one point.
And they dance a bit.
That's right. They dance a bit. And then we get a brief shot where it goes back to her in the real world sleeping on the bed. And then it flips, the camera flips, and then we're in the underworld where she's a gym leader on an overgrown grass bed.
Which is kind of cool. Kind of a cool shot.
Yeah, kind of a fun shot.
Rotation thing. Some are falling, some are dancing, some are Pokemon. That's the rest of it. It's not like narrative driven like the last one.
Not like the last one.
Electric.
Nor is it really connected to the lyrics about taking it home because she's in a hotel the whole time.
True.
She wakes up at the end with a knowing look like she knew she was dreaming about Pokemon.
Sorry, what was that?
I said she wakes up with a knowing look at the end like she knew she was dreaming about Pokemon.
Pokemon dreams. Yeah. It's definitely not aimed at me.
Well, Alex, who knew you weren't the primary Pokemon target audience?
I know, right? It's like I'm only approaching 30.
I know, right? Let's talk about this music, though, because I will tell you
Oh,
this.
Okay.
And Greta said that she sounds like Katy Perry, and it made me wonder the question. Do they all have to use the same production team, like, musically? Because this does sound musically very similar to Electric.
I didn't really compare that.
It seems
I
like a
just
lot
listened
of
to
the
it a couple
same,
times.
just production. Like, obviously, it's a different track, and there's a
Yeah.
different tone overall, but it does have the same general quality to it.
I don't know. I keep meaning to like listen to more modern pop music and then not doing it.
Right.
So I don't have a huge frame of reference for like modern trends in pop music, unfortunately.
Sure, but you have heard the song Electric and you have heard this song. I'm
Yeah,
not
I'd just be
asking you
wondering
to
like
have
like
an
connections between
idea of
these
the
two
whole
songs,
industry.
but like is that just these two songs or is it like a lot of songs? Is
Maybe,
it just a
but
trend that they're both following?
sure, but I mean, I guess maybe just straightforwardly answer the question: do you think these two
Do I
songs sound
think they
similar?
sound similar? I didn't think they sounded that similar, honestly.
No.
Well, I don't know.
Nice.
I didn't like think of that
It
when I
didn't. It
listened to
didn't
it.
come to you, so
No.
obviously you did not think
No,
of
I
that.
guess I
That's
didn't.
fine. It's just because I read an article on a website and this guy was like, "Oh yeah, this is even better than Perry's Electric." And I'm like, they sound the same to me. They sound equally the same.
In terms of production teams, I don't know how they're doing it, but I would imagine that they didn't have the same production team because the way I'm imagining it happening is the Pokemon company is just kind of paying artists to
But it's
basically
all
market
Universal
the songs.
Music Group artists.
Oh, that's true. That's true. It's all UMG.
It's all UMG, baby.
Could be. Hey, maybe it's all the same studio. That's why they all have the same sound.
Maybe. What goes on in this musically, Alex?
I didn't pay that much attention.
It didn't pay that much attention. Oh,
No,
that's
I
fair
just
enough.
like listened to it a couple times. I didn't do like a close listen or anything.
Alex, you hack.
Was I supposed to?
I mean, that's what we've done for the other ones, but you
Is
know.
it?
Yeah.
I guess it is. No.
It sounds like pop music. You know, fuck
Yeah.
it, people. You want to listen to the Pokemon song? Go listen to the Pokemon. We just described 10 fucking songs to you already today. God, you people are demanding. We're 216. Fucking, come on, people. All right. That does it for today's episode of Cover Me, unless you got anything else to say, Alex.
Nope.
Okay. Now, of course, as we always say on Cover Me, now my advice for those who die, declare the podcast in your ears, because it's Cover Me. Yeah, it's Cover Me.